At this hour, the store was empty. A perfect time for a break. But no, a pack of cigarettes was suddenly thrown at the checkout. "Give me back my money," demanded the woman in the worn-out sweater. The young student might have been scared, but instead he calmly asked for the check. The woman threw her hands up to her chest and barked, "These are just cigarettes. Why do you need a receipt?" When the student clarified the reasons for the return, she lost her temper. She hit the table, scattering drool. The guy remained firm, repeating, "I need a receipt." But the woman just waved him off in irritation. The student stood his ground, but the woman did not relent. "You have to carry all your documents with you." "Who throws them out?" The guy sighed, tired of her pressure. What if the cigarettes were bought around the corner, cheaper? Without a receipt, he couldn't trust her. The woman suddenly flared up. "Are you calling me a liar?" She skillfully feigned offense. "I'll bombard you with complaints. No respect." The woman screamed so loudly that his ears were blocked. The guy noted with relief that there were no other customers around. Suddenly, he slammed the fly swatter hard on the cash register. "Damn flies, they're torturing me," the student joked, scaring away imaginary insects. The woman realized that her trick had failed and, leaving the empty pack, hurried away to look for a new victim. "There are so many scammers," the student thought, watching her. "You're slacking off at work, lazy bones," his friend teased him when he returned from training. "Were you someone's punching bag again?" The student chuckled, looking at his face. "You should have seen that guy's face," the friend boasted. "It's just sparring." "You're something. You go to extra classes and train," the student muttered enviously. "By the way, I also work and study," the friend replied. "You got beaten up and you're happy as an elephant. Are you enjoying it or something?" The student chuckled. The friend immediately performed a shadow boxing. "Words can't explain it. Just try it once. You'll understand right away," he insisted. "You were famous in school. Why not try mixed martial arts?" a friend suggested. But the student just waved it off. "It's a fight." "But didn't you do a lot of exercise before?" the friend persisted. The student looked away. "So he hasn't let go of the past," his friend thought, looking at the cashier. "Oh well." He resigned himself, deciding to change the subject so as not to embarrass the guy. "Come and cheer," the student heard and was surprised. "Will there be a fight?" "A professional match," my friend proudly explained. "Right in a fight club. If he wins, will he become a pro?" The student didn't believe it. It didn't seem that difficult, he noted. But his friend objected, "So much work, it's not easy." "It sounds cool," the student sighed, because once this was his dream too. "And he still really worries about it," his friend noted, but decided not to say it out loud. "Come see it, it's better than on the screen," they offered him, and the guy agreed. "Excellent," his friend rejoiced, patting him on the back with a strong hand. "Well, go to work." The student waved goodbye and went home. The coolness of the night was refreshing. How long had he thought about this? Hui-sung wondered. This slacker will become a pro, the guy thought. Sounds good. On the day of the fight, Hui-seong arrived early and found the right place among the office buildings. He reread the sign several times to make sure. What kind of hole was this? He thought. A banner was hung over the entrance to the basement and guards were posted, Hui-sung noted. This was his first time here. He was a little shy to go in right away and decided to call a friend. "Aren't you lost? Come in since you came," the friend cheerfully responded, immersed in preparations. "Just walk in," Hui-sung realized. It was dusty and stuffy inside, which immediately disappointed him. After all, this was just an amateur league. "Let's watch my brothers fight and then go home," the guy decided, not wanting to linger within these dusty walls. Hui-sung made his way down the narrow, dark stairs, almost tripping. From inside came the hubbub of the crowd, shouts and music. He pushed the doors. The crowd screamed, drowning out everything else, and the echo only increased the noise in the basement. His gaze immediately fell on the cage fight. One of the fighters had just been hit in the jaw with a powerful hook, and his head was thrown back sharply. Song Hui couldn't take his eyes off him. Something stirred in his soul. The fighter did not slow down and swung his hook. Suddenly, he delivered a precise uppercut to the stomach, and the opponent, under the pressure of a clean blow, broke down in sweat. The opponent dodged the final right punch. Hui-sung's heart was pounding, adrenaline rushing through his body. The opponent raised his knee, pretending to deliver a blow to the body. He was ready to fight. But instead, he suddenly threw a high kick, putting all his strength into it, and the blow landed right on the jaw. To the cheers of the crowd, the referee gestured to end the fight and indicated the winner. He raised his hands in jubilation, a well-deserved victory after a tough fight. A sweet moment of triumph swept over all the spectators, and Hui So felt it too. The long-forgotten flame of a fighter flared up within him. He clenched his fists, holding his breath with delight. A friend noticed Hui So staring at the empty octagon. "Do you like it?" he asked the boy, frozen like a statue. The slacker friend looked different. He came out with the coaches. "What a look. We're going to drink beer today," he cheerfully encouraged, hitting her with his glove. "It's cool here, not like the beeping scanner at the checkout," he added, and Hui So nodded sheepishly, feeling the tension. "Get ready for a fight," the thick-browed trainer interrupted their conversation. "Okie dokie," Jung Hwan replied. "We'll celebrate the victory later," Hui So said confidently and headed towards the cage. "Even your friend is in better shape than you," the trainer encouraged the fighter. Jung Hwan turned to his friend. He did not take his eyes off the cage, peering intently. "How long can you deny it, and you yourself will see," he chuckled. The presenter, shouting over the noise of the crowd, announced the start of the next fight. "Blue corner, Lee Jung Hwan," he introduced. Jung Hwan looked fully prepared for the fight. Red corner, Choi Hyo Sup. The muscular fighter with red hair grinned like a real demon. "To the center of the ring," the referee commanded, and the fighters met eyes. Will he be able to handle it? Hui So thought doubtfully as he watched his comrade. The referee gave the signal. "Blue ready, red ready. Fight," came the command, and to the sound of the gong, the fighters rushed towards each other. The red-haired demon started first, pressing with all his mass. He rained down heavy jabs, but Jung Hwan deftly dodged each one. The red one swung a wide hook, but the blue one managed to dodge. This was immediately followed by a powerful left punch into the block of crossed arms. "It's like a cannon," thought Jung Hwan, feeling anxious. He responded sharply with a left straight to throw his opponent off his rhythm. Red took a punch to the jaw, not caring about defense. Jung Hwan was nervous but remained in the center of the cage, trading blows. "Too tense," Hui So noted, as he watched his friend go into the exchange, looking nothing like himself. Jung Hwan was getting it. His opponent was superior in strength, but he did not retreat. The red-headed one pressed forward, ignoring the blows. "Move already!" Hui So blurted out anxiously, his intuition sounding the alarm. And for good reason, Jung Hwan took a straight left to the head. "This is lousy," flashed through Hui So's mind, a chill running down his spine. His friend was taking too many hits. The powerful blow sent Jung Hwan's head flying back, leaving him dangerously exposed. The guy staggered, losing his balance. The world began to swim before his eyes. The red-haired man rushed forward, intending to finish him off. Jung Hwan saw the attack coming, but he didn't have time to get away. "Bad," flashed through his head. "Dodge!" Hui So shouted, not holding back his emotions. A heavy right to the jaw knocked Jung Hwan down. The referee stepped between the fighters and gave the command, "Stop," as soon as Jung Hwan fell to his knees. The guy seemed to have gone dark. His head was ringing. He couldn't come to his senses. The referee crossed his arms above his head, signaling a stop to the fight to the judges outside the ring. "What a fool," lamented Hui So, closing his eyes in grief. "What is this?" The presenter's voice from the speakers brought him back to reality. While the referee was looking away, the red-headed man pounced on the defenseless Jung Hwan. Sitting on top, he pounded him as if turning him into a cutlet. The referee grabbed him by the shoulders, trying to pull him away from the prone fighter. But the stupid bull threw the judge aside and returned to beating him again. Hui So watched in slow motion as the madman's fist hovered over his friend's head. Jung Hwan could barely move his fingers, being deeply knocked out. The coaches were confused. One called the staff, but everyone hesitated. Hui So didn't wait. Without thinking, he rushed to the cage. He didn't yet know what he would do inside, but he threw off his jacket for more freedom. The presenter noticed out of the corner of his eye a black shadow rushing towards the ring. "What is he doing? Stop!" the presenter shouted after him. Hui So flew up the cage with lightning speed and jumped inside like a panther. He landed confidently, distributing his weight on his arms and legs. In the corner, a friend was being mercilessly beaten, and no one intervened. The red-haired man, going mad, shouted, "Die! Die!" A powerful hand grabbed him by the neck, almost breaking his head. "Get lost, you idiot!" And the redhead crashed into the net with a bang. Hui So leaned over his friend, trying to bring him back to his senses. "Who dared?" the red-headed man roared, rising. The spectators behind him screamed, but Hui So didn't turn around. It all happened instantly. The red-headed one jumped up and swung. The friend looked bad, did not react to what was happening before his eyes. "Damn!" flashed through Hui So's mind. The friend's gaze remained empty. He had suffered greatly in the battle and after. "Call an ambulance!" Huiso shouted over the hubbub of the crowd. Through the hubbub, he heard faint cries of someone calling from behind. The red-haired man, maddened, rushed to attack again. Huiso reacted like a cat, catching the massive blow at the last moment. Reflexively, he crossed his arms in front of him, defending himself. The blow went wide but sent him flying towards the edge of the net. The red-headed man unleashed a hail of blows, but Huiso held his ground firmly. As soon as he tried to dodge, his opponent's glove pinned him to the floor. Crash! The knee strike broke his block and lifted him off the ground. The thick-browed trainer became noticeably nervous. Everything was going beyond the pale. Finally, the cage door opened and people rushed inside. "Hesiap, calm down," the red-headed man's trainer mumbled. "You won't get off that easy," he shouted at the fighter. Huiso could clearly see the knee rising again to strike. He opened the block, stepped to the left, and easily dodged. "Bastard," Huiso said through his teeth, clenching his fist tighter. He extended his left hand forward, taking a wide stance, and his right hand dropped to his waist. "Enough already!" And his right, like a cannon, fired an uppercut straight into the opponent's jaw. The bare fist struck like a steel block and knocked the redhead out on the spot. "That's it!" Huiso shouted, feeling the recoil spread throughout his body. The thick-browed coach froze with his mouth open. You don't see that every day. Even the manager in the black suit froze in amazement. A simple spectator just knocked out a professional fighter with one punch. "Phew," Huiso breathed out. "Let him lie there and think." But then an alarming thought occurred to him. What if he had overdone it? At that very moment, the club employees knocked him down, mistaking him for an intruder. Huiso was indignant. He was not a troublemaker, but security was already dragging him out of the ring. "A real diamond," the manager grinned, spotting talent in this spectator. Young Juan gradually came to his senses, looking exhausted, both of them breathing in the cool evening air. "What about the results of the fight now?" Huiso asked. "Invalid. Huisub is suspended from all competitions," Jung Hwan responded. "But there's nothing to be happy about. If I lose the fight, I won't become a professional," he explained. "There's something I wanted to say," the friend added, changing the subject. "Just listen, I'll tell you straight." Young Hwan collected his thoughts. It's good that he's so cheerful after everything, Huiso thought. "Want to try yourself in the cage?" Young Hwan asked unexpectedly. He handed Huiso a piece of cardboard with the name of the fight organizer, Chang Yon Woong. "He was impressed by your spectacular knockout. He offers to turn you into a pro," the friend explained. "Chances like these are rare," Jung Hwan insisted. "Will I be able to handle it?" Huiso wondered, torn between desire and doubt. "Sports used to bring me nothing but trouble," he replied with a hint of sadness. "So what? Are you going to whine now?" Young Hwan said with annoyance. "Come on, this doesn't obligate you to anything," he encouraged, lightly bumping his friend with his elbow. "There is nothing strange about liking fights. You just came, watched, and liked it," added Young Hwan. "And now, look, I've almost become a professional, although I thought I'd just watch," he said, throwing up his hands. "So you're not going to give up?" Huiso asked. "Well, maybe I won't become a champion, but the fights drag on." My friend smiled through the pain of his broken lips. "Why do it if not for fun?" he added. "You don't need a lofty dream to do what you love," Jung Hwan continued, making Huiso think. "So that's how it is," Huiso replied, getting up from the bench. "You're already annoying. You talk like Confucius," he chuckled. "And then I have to work hard at the market early in the morning," said Huiso. "Come on, work, lazy bones," Jung Hwan teased him. "Go to the hospital and come back to the store." Huiso said goodbye. Young Hwan watched him go, wondering if he understood. The broad back slowly dissolved into the gloom of the streetlights. "His place is definitely in the arena," Young Hwan smiled as he imagined it. "Ha, just imagining it makes me hot," he laughed. "Okay, I'll meet you there," the manager said on the phone. "Meeting that guy everyone's talking about," he told his assistant. "A regular guy knocked out a pro, people like it," the assistant agreed. And the manager decided to invite him to the league. "Make him a pro." The assistant was surprised. "Any doubts?" The manager answered with a question. "He just got lucky in the ring," the bespectacled man doubted. "It was an accident." "He's just young. Is that luck?" the manager noted. "The time will come. He will learn," he said, getting up from the table. "Choice Sub is a beast, but he has a fast recovery." "Yes, he took damage, but for such a big guy, it's not critical," A newbie definitely wouldn't have touched him. The manager stretched his shoulders. And that's not all, he added, glancing at his watch. Time to run. Work without me. He waved goodbye to his assistant. For a pro, not only fighting skills are important, but also other qualities, he concluded. You can't get by on skill alone. The fighters swear and behave insolently. They provoke their opponents and turn the fight into a real show. Their sense of humor and lightning-fast reactions help them captivate the crowd. Yes, it's just a proposal, but there's something about this guy, the manager thought. The potential to become a star of the arena, he recalled with a smile the bright show of the past. Huiso came to the meeting, deciding to find out everything first. What is it about me that interests you so much? He asked. The manager offered to show me and pulled out a desktop. He placed a screen in front of the guy and turned on the recording after the fight. The video clearly showed the red-headed enemy attacking furiously. Huiso dodged deftly, then countered with a powerful uppercut. That's a punch, the manager noted admiringly. Lucky, Huiso replied calmly, surprising the manager with his modesty. The guy described it in detail. He transferred his weight to his left leg, took a low stance for balance, and fixed his right hand for ease of turning his body. Is it just luck? The manager showed an uppercut with his fist. No, this is a precise blow from a trained fighter, he said. Did you really get here by accident? The manager continued. Yes and no, Huiso replied, thinking, which completely confused the manager. He explained that the thug could have knocked him down, but as soon as he opened up, Huiso hit him. The manager was puzzled. Did you really notice that? He asked, not hiding his surprise. My gut instinct was right. The guy is really talented. The manager smiled at his thoughts. He asked Huiso if he had done anything before. 3 years of baseball in elementary school, Huiso recalled. And then 6 years of freestyle wrestling in high school, he added. Now it's clear where the reaction came from, the manager said. In baseball, the ball flies much faster than the strike. I'll ask you straight. Why not take up mixed martial arts? The manager asked. Huiso thought for a moment. He had been expecting such a question and was already prepared for an answer. I'd like to do MMA, he replied, and the manager was delighted. But the financial side leaves much to be desired, concluded Huiso. Popularity is a fickle thing. If the investment doesn't pay off, his family will be left with debt. He doesn't want to disturb his loved ones with his ambitions, and the manager, hearing this, thought about it. Got it? You want $1 million for the fight? The manager replied. It's possible, he added with a smile, surprising the guy. Don't worry about the equipment. Everything will be provided. And with part-time work, you can earn good money, the manager figured. There's no such thing as a free lunch, right? Huiso responded suspiciously. Just a little test sparring. If the director likes you, we'll take you on the team, the manager suggested. If not, everything will remain the same, no risks, he added. The guy realized that they wanted to test him, and the decision was his. The sparring was scheduled for a month later. Is it possible to change the test date? Huiso asked, thinking. A month might not be enough. Contact me when you're ready, the manager agreed. What about today? He heard and almost choked on his hot coffee. Today? The manager asked again, puzzled, and the guy nodded. You must be kidding me? The manager thought, deciding that something was wrong with the guy. What jokes? Give me your fighter, Huiso answered decisively. The manager didn't expect this turn of events. This guy was ready to fight today. Any reason to do this immediately? The manager asked the guy who seemed crazy to him. You do realize that MMA is not a place for the frivolous? He added, and the guy nodded confidently. What to wait for? If I'm good now. Talent won't appear in a month, Huiso answered calmly. It's ridiculous, but it sounds so convincing, flashed through the manager's mind. Chill out. First, you need a partner, so today is definitely not going to work. The agent snapped decisively. Let's put it off for a week. At least we need some basics, the manager said. We'll decide on that. In a week, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he said, packing his things. It's not too late to change your mind, the agent warned sternly. No problem, the cheeky guy answered confidently. Phew, this guy has a spark, the manager noted to himself. The outcome of the fight is clear, the manager said with a relaxed smile. Okay, Huiso nodded, getting up. It was time to leave. Prepare properly, his agent instructed him. Huiso smiled. He hadn't felt such anticipation before a competition in a long time. Finally, he reached the fashionable building, the hall of Team Young Hwan. Burning with impatience, the guy quickly climbed the steps. Huiso stood frozen in front of the door, feeling the usual awkwardness in the new place. Plucking up his courage, he opened the glass door and said hello. "This is so serious." He held his breath, seeing the preparations in full swing in the hall. "Keep your hands close to your body," the trainers instructed the powerful fighters. The sound of gloves on paws created a tense but pleasant atmosphere. "Good sound," Huiso noted as he watched the training. "Why are you standing there like a statue? Are you staring at real men?" His best friend chuckled, approaching with a trainer with thick eyebrows. "That's definitely not about him," Huiso snapped, looking at his slacker friend. The coach introduced himself, Park Sung-hoon, the team's coach. Huiseo followed suit, introducing himself and shaking hands. "If your friend is a slob, you can address me informally," the bushy-browed trainer suggested. "The test is in a week," he confirmed, having heard it from Young Hwan. "To be honest, I thought you would refuse," the coach added sternly. "Get changed," the coach said, and his friend led Huiso along. The bushy-browed coach looked after Huiso with doubt. He looked too self-confident. "It's finally starting," Huiso thought as he returned to the coach. "This whole farce is a waste of time and effort." The eyebrow stick immediately brought down the mood. "So straightforward," thought the guy, stunned by such abruptness. "What can you learn in a week? Even if you remember it, it will take weeks to practice," the coach grumbled. "We'll teach the most basic principles," the coach said, and Huiso nodded decisively. "What is the most important thing in a fight?" Park Sung-hoon continued, asking a leading question. "A blow?" Huiso guessed. "That's right. The techniques are different, but the main thing is to inflict damage on the opponent," the coach answered sternly. "The first and most important one is the jab, a simple punch to control distance," he explained. The bushy-browed trainer demonstrated a series of fast, sharp jabs on the bag. Huiso watched carefully, but the sound of the blows did not impress him. "It's somehow simple, like stroking with the palm of your hand," he thought with disbelief. "What do you think?" the coach asked, and Huiso nodded uncertainly. "It turned out well." "Really?" Pak narrowed his eyes, frowning. "He looks weak and clumsy," Huiso admitted honestly. "Okay, how about this?" The coach walked back to the bag. Coach Pak hit the bag hard, causing it to shake from the loud blows. "That's better." Huiso cheered up, and the coach nodded approvingly. "Right. But they will be practicing the first version of the jab," explained the eyebrow artist. "In MMA, they use not only strikes, but also throws and grabs. It's important to keep your distance. The second type of jab requires precise aim and is used more in boxing. In MMA, the fighters are lower and closer to each other, so this kind of strike is less effective here," the coach explained. "After the jab, you need a straight punch similar to a boxer's," the trainer explained. "Alternate them together," Park Song added, turning back to the pair. "Jab and immediately return your hand." He demonstrated several clear punches. Then, turning his body, he threw his right one at full force. The bag shook from the powerful blow. After the combination, return your hand to your jaw and put your front hand forward. Defense is most important. "That's all the basics. Got it?" asked the brow sticker, and the cheeky boy nodded. "Okay, we're done," the coach said, casting a condescending glance at the newcomer. "Really, it's that simple?" Huiso was surprised. "Once you master these two strikes, you've already won half the battle," the coach replied. "Take care of your wrist when the bag flies back. Practice until you get tired." He finished the instruction and left the newbie. "Isn't that too little?" Young Hwan asked worriedly. "That's enough," the coach replied sharply. "Is this a tutorial, just to lay out the theory?" the friend insisted. "What will change if he is taught more thoroughly?" the coach retorted sternly. "A week is not enough even for a guy who is so talented," the coach shook his head indifferently. "But he is a friend," Young Hwan was upset. "If he wasn't a friend, there would be no conversation with him. Miracles don't happen. Train and go home," the coach replied. The hall echoed with a rapid series of blows. The bag bounced on its chains like a feather as it was attacked with force. Huiso worked the punching bag rhythmically, without slowing down, without pauses. He then added movement with his legs, working the bag from different angles. The guy was showing excellent form. He added dodging, moving like a pendulum and throwing straight punches from different angles. "A newbie, you say?" The eyebrowed man was surprised, and Young Hwan himself did not suspect his friend's hidden abilities. Huiso loaded his right, put his body in, and struck without a swing. The pair shook from the powerful blow, the echo spreading throughout the hall. Beads of sweat rolled off his face as he focused on every punch. Interesting, the eyebrow-bearer said cheerfully, clearly not expecting this from the newcomer. They then moved on to pad training, and Huiso landed a powerful low kick to the shin. The blow was resounding, with a loud slap on the paw. "What kind of ballet is this? It's like you're chasing flies." The bushy-browed trainer stopped him. "Too sweeping, pick one spot and hit it," the brow stick corrected. "Learn to hit fast, again," he commanded. "What's that noise?" a low voice said from behind them, and they turned around. "Work, don't get distracted," said a strong, stubbly man who entered the room as if he had just come from a construction site. "How was the seminar?" The thick-browed one came up to say hello. "Fine," the shaggy one answered briefly. Head coach Hwang Sang-guk glanced at the new guy, and Park Sung reminded him that this was the guy that manager Jung had noticed. "Come here," the bushy-browed coach called out. "This is head coach Hwang Sang-guk," he introduced, and Huiseo bowed. "Do you like MMA?" Sang-guk asked, scratching his beard. "I really do. I'd like to watch more tournaments," the guy replied. The coaches were looking at him so intently that he literally froze to the spot. "Try hard and you will get results," the head coach simply said. "Go ahead and work." He waved his hand and left so as not to interfere. "Let's go," the brow stick encouraged, realizing that they didn't have much time. So looked after this strange man, as if he had just returned from hard work. "What a fool I am," thought Huiso, hugging the bag. There was only 1 day left until the exhibition match. There was only 1 day left, and he still hadn't mastered the required kick. What a frivolous idiot, Huiso scolded himself as he hugged the bag. If I had thought about it in advance, I wouldn't have asked for just a week to prepare. I'll practice a little more, he decided after a short break. "Do you like to stay until the last minute?" the head coach asked him as he left the office. "How's the kick?" the coach asked. "You've been training all day and still can't get it?" So honestly complained that the kick still wasn't coming. "Come on, show me!" Sang-guk scratched his beard, thinking that since the guy was trying so hard, it was worth taking a look. "What, do you want to see for yourself? Aren't you a bit old?" So answered cheekily. "Do as you're told," Sang-guk grumbled. "And then we'll see." Huiseo obediently stood in a stance, preparing to strike with his back leg. Huiso swung his arm and hit the bag hard, but the sound was muffled again. Sang-guk sighed heavily. It immediately became clear to him what the problem was, and catching the guy's gaze, he said, "Are you hitting me with crutches?" the old coach grumbled. "You only use your legs, but you don't use your abdominal muscles to turn your body. Of course, the punch will be weak," he explained. "It's as if you're tearing off a part of yourself. The oblique muscles merge with the thighs, strengthening the blow." "Watch carefully, I'll show you how it's done," Sang-guk muttered. "Don't yawn. Get real tight." The old but not useless trainer took a low stance. "Lift your legs as soon as you start rotating your pelvis," he said, and delivered a powerful blow for his age. The leg entered the bag like a heavy whip, completing a full turn. "As I thought," Huiso's eyes lit up. "Not bad for an old man," he noted with a grin. Now, enough of the excitement. Try it yourself." Sang-guk nodded at the bag. Huiseo bounced on his toes a couple of times, testing his body. "Tighten your abs, turn your pelvis," he repeated mentally, imagining the blow. His leg shot up easily as the movement merged into one. A heavy blow hit the bottom of the bag with a sharp sound. "Oh yeah, that's it." Huiso felt the power all over his body. "Exactly," Sang-guk approved. "Much better." Huiso exhaled and collapsed on the spot, completely exhausted. "You're quick to grab, that's why Manager Chang is interested in you," the coach grumbled contentedly. "Did you think this was just a game for him?" the old man suddenly said. "Why?" Huiso was surprised. "You said so yourself," the coach replied. He remembered their first conversation. It seemed he had been misunderstood then. "Sorry if that sounded careless," the guy apologized. "Oh, come on," the old man laughed. "You're basically right. He's in MMA too because he loves it. It's much better than just a job. You have to know how to rest too. Go home," Sang-guk grumbled. "Master Sang," Huiso jumped to his feet. "Thank you for everything," he blurted out loudly, his voice echoing throughout the room. "You're a weirdo," Sang-guk chuckled. "If you scream like that, they'll think you're already on the team." Show what you can do tomorrow, the coach wished him. Fighter! Hui So heard the unshaven master's cheerful grumble. The next day, he was ready and dressed for the match. His opponent, a confident shaved guy, was calmly warming up on the side. Chung Hwan, standing nearby, looked warily at his friend's opponent. He looked serious. Director Kim Si-yup squinted and assessed the newcomer with obvious interest. Handsome, huh? Manager Chang remarked. Is he the one who sends people flying with a punch? The director asked. Coach Park says he's a quick learner, the manager praised. We'll see, the director replied, eyeing the newcomer appraisingly. Relax and do what you normally do, his friend encouraged, although he was more nervous than the fighter in the helmet. He's only been in MMA for a week, so don't push yourself too hard, but be on your guard, the shaved man's trainer instructed. No need for protection, lightweight, the shaved man grinned. Now we'll lower the eagle to the ground. Fighters to the middle, the referee gave the command to begin. Are you closing your eyes out of fear? The opponent teased, but Wiso remained silent. Sparring for 3 rounds of 2 minutes, the referee reminded. No elbows, knees, or wrestling, he listed the restrictions. Wiso concentrated. They touched gloves and went to their corners at the referee's signal. The gong rang and the shaved man immediately took the initiative with quick jabs. He added hooks with skill and Huiso barely had time to dodge. The shaven one threw a low kick, but the newcomer managed to defend himself by raising his shin. Not bad protection, said director Kim Seo-yup. The guy moved confidently around the ring, showing excellent footwork. Shaven chased him around the ring. Running away? He smirked. As Huiso retreated, the shaved man threw a left straight, the blow hitting the block. Huiso kept a tight defense, not attacking, giving his opponent freedom. He easily closed in and delivered an uppercut to the ribs. Pain shot through Huiso, causing him to cringe for a moment. Shaven continued to break the newcomer's block with a smug smile. He gets beat up too much, the director said with disappointment. But the guy hasn't lost yet, the manager countered. Will you fight? The shaved man grinned insolently, forgetting about protection and rushing forward. Huiso had already gotten used to his speed and confidently dodged, tilting his helmet slightly. Instantly closing in, he passed his opponent's defense. His hand described a sharp hook and his fist sank into the jaw with an uppercut. Oh, not bad, the director noted, and the manager rejoiced. Good hit, this newbie knows something, the shaved man realized. He tried to hold off Huiso with jabs from a left-handed stance, but he confidently dodged. Seizing the moment, Huiso landed a straight right to the jaw, and the blow landed hard. But it wasn't enough to knock him out, and the shaved man managed to exchange blows. The helmet softened the blow, but Huiso felt it. The fighters continued to exchange blows in the center of the ring, and the shaved one got hit on the nose. Huiseo was still getting hit on the helmet by the shaved man. Look, Master Sanguk, Huiso doesn't give up even against a pro. Young Hwan supported his friend, but the coach frowned. What is this weirdo doing? He thought, but he didn't interfere. Round! The referee sent the fighters to the corners. Huiso took a deep breath and splashed water on himself to cool down. It's hard, but even getting hit is fun in its own way, he thought. The guy knows where to hit, the director noted, and the manager agreed, confident in the newcomer. But, the director added, because the second round was going on just like the end of the first. The boys exchanged quick blows, causing little serious damage. Huiso was breathing heavily, his stamina was lacking. He lacks experience and strength, the club director said with disappointment. But the shaved one was still full of strength and continued to actively press on Huiso. The opponent attacked from different angles, and Huiso went into deep defense. We had a good start, the shaved man exulted mockingly. Wait another minute, he grinned. Huiso endured, raising his defenses, standing with his last strength. The gong saved him from defeat. The second round went to the shaved one. Just breathe, Young Hwan encouraged him as his second. The guy has shown everything he can do, the director said, and the manager reluctantly agreed. He's not in the best shape right now. Train him properly, the director ordered, getting ready to leave. Li Huiso! The grumpy old man called out loudly, attracting the attention of everyone around him. Master! Huiso walked to the edge of the octagon to talk. Who fights like a girl in the ring? The old man asked sternly. What kind of fool gives in to an opponent? The old man scolded Huiso. The shaved man glared angrily. His victory had just been devalued. MMA is a sport for the strong-willed, the old man continued to scold. The manager watched, perplexed. Enjoy the fight, but don't forget about the goal. Stop playing. The unshaven coach got carried away. Fight as you wish without regret. These words entered Huiso like a fresh wind. Just don't dare grab that thing, Huiso said with a smile. The director stopped to understand what the newcomer was up to. His gaze was stern. Okay, let's get rid of all the unnecessary things. Huiso took off his helmet, smiling. Now we'll fight seriously. He stretched his arms as if he had just dropped a heavy load. What's wrong with this weirdo? The shaved man muttered, preparing for the next round. He decided to put on a show? Funny, thought the bald man, confident that he was in control of the fight. He acts carefree, like a different person, the shaved man noted to himself, watching Huiso. The gong rang, and the shaved man rushed forward, deciding not to lose the initiative. The attacks continued, but Huiso dodged his blows with cat-like agility. It's hot, he cried, jumping on the surface. His feet felt like they were on fire from the sudden movements. What kind of circus is this in front of the director? The manager's jaw dropped. The contract could have been signed without any problems if the guy hadn't tried to jump over his head. Just a bluff, the shaved man grinned. He was sure he could easily take down the cocky newbie. Time to sleep! Without fear, he threw himself into a powerful blow. But then he ran into an instant counterattack, so fast that no one had time to notice what had happened. The bald one was hit right in the nose. His head was thrown back. How cleverly you caught him. The spectators were surprised, and the manager breathed a sigh of relief. There was still hope. In response, the shaved, furious man threw a straight punch to regain the initiative. But Huiso went into a low stance, dodging. I'll finish him off now, thought the shaved man, swinging for a powerful blow. But Huiso straightened up like a spring, and with a flexible movement sent a left uppercut straight to the liver. Boom! Huiso's fist slammed into the bald man's ribs, causing him to double over in pain. Huiso immediately jumped back, avoiding a possible answer. For the first time during the fight, the bald man was confused, not understanding what had just happened. Come here, Huiso teased him with a gesture, as if he had become a completely different person. What a bastard! Gritting his teeth in anger, the shaved man could not tolerate such impudence from a seemingly weak opponent. Baldy went forward again, raising his defense and forgetting about tactics. But he couldn't get even. Now Huiso saw all his blows. They seemed to be dancing in the ring, and the newcomer anticipated every move, depriving his opponent of the opportunity to hit. With the agility of a cat, Huiso dodged the shaved man's sweeping attacks. Impossible! The bald man couldn't believe that not a single one of his blows even touched his opponent. Huiso dodged with ease and a smirk. As soon as the opponent finished his series of blows, he instantly closed in, as if preparing for a powerful blow. Shaven raised his guard to his head, expecting a blow to the face. But instead, the middle kick exploded into his ribs. Huiso using a trick. Bluff? The shaved man was stunned. Such tricks from a newbie were the last thing he expected. Huiso confidently advanced, taking full initiative. The bald man raised his forearms, covering his head. But Huiso suddenly moved to the left and delivered a powerful kick to the stomach with his right foot. Now he's losing! The athletes said to each other in surprise, astonished by the change. Completely defeated, the opponent had nothing to counter, and the director was deeply impressed. Huiso used unusual movements of his hands, feet, and eyes to confuse his opponent. His punches seemed unorthodox, but they came from unpredictable angles. Light, springy steps, a balance between rigidity and agility. This is his true style, the director realized, still amazed by the newcomer's determination. I still overpowered him, the shaved man reluctantly admitted, feeling how Huiso's blows were beginning to make themselves felt. But in a real fight, he would never give in to his opponent's pace. The shaved man rushed forward in one lunge, only to be met with a left uppercut to the jaw. His head snapped back from the powerful counterblow. Huiso finished the combination with a flawless high kick to the head, sending his opponent flying. His predatory gaze did not let go of his victim until the very end. Shaven rolled his eyes and collapsed, his consciousness seeming to reboot. He fell like a felled tree with a dull thud on the ring. The echo of his fall rolled through the silent hall. Songgun, the old master called softly. It's time to end the fight, he addressed the stunned referee. We're done, you can go. The thick-browed trainer stopped Huiso. Cool, great fight. Cheers rang out, with young Juan shouting louder than everyone else. That's better. The unshaven old man noted approvingly with just one glance. Huiso walked down from the arena, satisfied, his heart still pounding from the fight. A good fight and an unexpected outcome, the director praised him. But there is one bad habit. In the final round, you fought more than you fought, too willful, Huiso heard. This is a sport. Athletes fight in the ring, not just fighters. There are rules that must be followed, the director said. He who does not see the difference does not deserve to be called a fighter. Rudeness and cruelty must not cross the line, he continued in a stern tone. Huiso frowned, dissatisfied with what he heard. Don't you understand? The director asked. And Huiso replied that it was about sportsmanship, which should come first. But can't you do whatever it takes to win without resorting to dirty tricks? Huiso stubbornly objected. Do you really think so? The director asked sternly, noticing the boy's wayward nature. Of course. Losing proves a fighter's uselessness, Huiso replied decisively. We can discuss this later, the director waved his hand. We can sign the contract now, he suggested, but Huiso suddenly refused. The director was at a loss when he realized that he had been refused. I don't think I'm fit to be the club's elite athlete, Huiso said, and the director, quite angry, didn't understand why they were gathered here then. The cheeky boy bowed low and apologized. Even for the old master, this turn of events was unexpected. How's the director? Sang-guk said on the phone. I see, he replied, having learned the news, and, postponing the meeting, went out for a drink. The old master exhaled, ending the conversation. Huiso apologized again for the inconvenience. Now you can talk. The coach sat down opposite him, ready to talk. Why did you decide to join their team? Asked the unshaven master. I just wanted to. What other reason is needed? He replied flippantly. All I can do is talk, Sang-guk grumbled. Is this revenge on Director Kim for underestimating me? The master narrowed his eyes, but Huiso shook his head. He knew how to separate one from the other. I've been in sports my whole life, and the coaches have always said the same thing, Huiso added with a little bitterness. Stop kicking and do what you're told, they used to tell him back in baseball. For any willfulness, they were punished, forced to stand in a plank position, Huiso recalled. So, Director Kim reminded you of the past? Sang-guk realized. That's right, Huiso nodded. They're all the same. They kill the individuality of athletes. But you are different, Master, he added, which surprised Sang-guk quite a bit. You're the only one who told me to move the way I want while I enjoy the fight. I said it off the cuff you were losing, Sang-guk muttered. But to Huiso, these were unusual words. Not something you say to athletes. Such nonsense about strength of spirit and freedom. Who else would say that? Huiso said boldly, slightly stunning the master. But those words really helped me, he admitted. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. That's why I want to learn from the old unshaven master, Huiso added with a smile, looking at Sang-guk. Chew it before it burns. The trainer deftly turned the meat over on the barbecue. The motivation is clear, but that's not enough. Many come with the same fire. They love sports, but after a couple of years they give up. Do you know why? The master continued. Because they can't afford it. MMA is for those who have money. That's why everyone is eager to join the association to earn money, he concluded. Forget it, the impudent boy interrupted him. Don't pretend you've already thought about it, Sang-guk snapped. But he does it out of love for MMA, the youngster replied. The master remained adamant. 100 out of 100 start the same way. Then he will be one of these 100. 99 say so, but then give in. As long as there is a chance, even if it is 1%, Huiso insisted firmly. 1%? That is insignificant, Sang-guk snapped, trying to bring him to his senses. Then he is that very chance, the young man answered boldly, without a trace of doubt. Sang-guk knew that this was truly his last chance. There would be no mistake. I won't return to sports just for money, Huiso declared decisively and slammed the table hard. The old master froze for a moment, mentally shrugging his shoulders. What can you do? Sang-guk drained his glass of riced tea in one gulp. The decision was made. Just don't complain later, the coach grumbled. It's my choice, Huiso replied firmly. There will be no regrets. I'll work like a donkey, the guy declared. Maybe like a horse after all? Sang-guk chuckled. What a blockhead, thought the master, and they both laughed. What else can I add since he's decided everything? the old master muttered. Does that mean you agree? Huiso asked. Who cares about my consent if the decision has already been made? The unshaven master grinned, answering a question with a question. Strike while it's hot. We'll start next week, the master announced contentedly. Huiso bowed respectfully. Now I can eat in peace, the boy rejoiced. The master looked at him and became increasingly surprised. What else would this boy do? Athletes need pure obsession to endure pain and grueling training. Money is a good motivator, but things are different now. Sang-guk recalled seeing the coaches humbly apologizing to the director. Now money has become less important. The main thing is a true love for the sport. It was hard to believe in such love, and the future was unknown. But Sang-guk knew one thing. He was not going to give the boy to anyone. The master promised to settle matters with the bushy-browed trainer who would provide the entry papers. Huiso nodded. Before the debut, the price will be different, the master assured. How about a discount? The guy asked with the air of an experienced financier. The master laughed. What's wrong? These are not the best of times, Huiso said, offended. Talk to Song-hoon, he'll know what to do, the master muttered. And is it possible to postpone the payment? I want to apply for a tax deduction from my father's card, the guy asked, and the coach nodded. What about the debts? Can we stretch it out to 6 months instead of 3? Huiso continued brazenly, not missing out on any advantage. You can also list fitness as an activity and get a 5% discount, he chattered, waving his arms. And you can take the uniform right away, the young man insisted, as if he had forgotten about modesty. Enough, the master exclaimed, and his patience snapped. He simply tore Huiso's t-shirt in half. It seemed he had gone too far, but it was worth it, thought the impudent young man, not regretting anything. Hello, everyone, Huiso greeted loudly the following week, walking into the hall with a wide smile. Li Huiso has arrived for training, he announced again, introducing himself with a serious expression. What are you standing there for? Get moving, we have a lot of work to do! The bushy-browed trainer barked at him. Yes, please take care of me, the boy responded at the top of his voice, full of energy. First, he went to see the coach to sign some papers. What would you like to have, an Americano or coffee and sticks? Asked the man with the thick eyebrows. Huiso chose an Americano. It's a shame we only have instant, the coach replied, and Huiso wondered why he'd offered it then. While Huiso was drinking this misunderstanding, Sung-hoon was studying his notes, but suddenly the coach started feeling him up. Huiso was taken aback. Could it really be the coach? Browshi cut off his thoughts abruptly. It's part of the job. But he's right now, the impudent guy whispered. Hold my chest, Huiso said seriously. How long have you been out of training, idiot? Asked the big-browed man. Huiso hadn't been training for 2 years. The trainer noticed that the guy had gained 7 kilograms in a year and hadn't gained any more weight, which meant he was watching his diet, he decided. He's trying to determine my weight class, Huiso guessed. The weight is stable, the ratio of muscles, fat and liquid is good, the bushy-browed man concluded. What category is he in? The guy asked. We'll find out later, but most likely lightweight, the trainer replied, without looking up from his papers. But he weighs 80 kilograms. Will I have to lose 10? The guy was surprised. Isn't that too much? He'll lose his strength and stamina, won't he? Huiso thought worriedly. This is only for the duration of the fight. The rest of the time, he will be at his weight, the thick-browed man reassured. Does the weigh-in happen the day before the fight or the day of the fight? The guy asked. Sung-hoon nodded. In MMA, the day before. Lose 10 kilograms in one day? The fighter was confused. Don't worry, the coaches will explain everything and monitor your condition, Sung-hoon replied. Then there's training, the thick-browed man continued. The guy is special. He got through without a selection or test at the main office. Without knowledge of the basics, without training. This is not impudence, but something more, the coach reproached him. You'll learn on the go, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and intensive training. Lots of work, the thick-browed man described. He put down a sheet of paper with a schedule. Monday and Thursday, general strength. Friday and Saturday, jiu-jitsu, Sunday rest. Any questions? No questions, the big-browed man decided immediately. Maybe you're shy, Sung-hoon teased. But Huiso waved it off. He had been training for years and was used to it. We'll start after the test, no matter if it's in a team or individually, the coach concluded. You'll cough up blood, the big-browed man warned him sternly. But the guy grinned. I like it when it's tough. Excellent, fresh meat, the trainer smiled, mentally preparing to squeeze him dry. You just have to do what you're told, the fighter said easily. Then let's start right away, the eye-browed man replied, and Huiso shouted loudly, Let's go! Damn, his shadow on the floor groaned an hour later. You'll lose your breath if you lie around like this, the coach frowned. I want to die, Huiso groaned. What's with all the sighing? Sung-hoon asked as the boy stood up. We've only just started. Where's the fighting spirit? Are you giving up on the beginner's course? What are you going to do in preparation for the competition? The thick-browed man grumbled discontentedly. Bench press at 90, lifting 2 weights of 28 kilograms 12 times, squatting with a barbell at 140. The guy is not bad. With each set, the weight only increased, and the thick-browed man assessed its strength. Not all middleweights can withstand such a load. Usually they reduce weight, but he held out. The thick-browed man was surprised. Crazy guy, he thought, looking at the out-of-breath but satisfied Huiso. What are you smiling about? Your roof is already leaking from the stress, asked the thick-browed man. I just like you, the athlete replied. I like the muscle pain, the feeling of fatigue, the ease of exhaustion, the crazy guy explained. I had to honestly admit that I didn't have enough strength. The man with the thick eyebrows smiled. But he's not just some kind of weakling. The boy tried to be brave. He heard everything, remembered Song-hoon, his conversation with Young Hwan, when the self-confident dandy had just come to them. Every single word, Huiso laughed. It didn't bother him one bit. Back then, he was a cocky upstart, and not one of the team, Song-hoon, who apologized subtly. Back then, he went too far, he said. Great, we had a rest. We continue to stretch, he said. The guy was surprised they had already stretched. This is part of the training, no joke. Who said that today we will train everything? The big-browed one shaved off the endless stream of questions from the boy. I remember someone who did not pass the test of strength. A voice called him from the grave. Huiso jumped back in surprise as another trainer approached them. Taeyong, the cheeky guy, recognized the strength training trainer. But what is he doing here? Huiso asked, wasn't he told? Taeyong showed his muscles, who was conducting the second half of the training. They drove. Steel hands took him in pincers and dragged him along. It's not good to change the coach like that in the middle of training. First, you need to work everything out with Song-hoon, the guy expressed hope. What should we do? Taeyeon asked the bushy-browed master. He looked at Huiso, who was clamped in a vice. He thought, he will help me. It will definitely help. There is still hope to escape from this hell. We're done, he's yours. Do whatever you want. The bushy-browed traitor waved goodbye. It was time to stop taking athletes at their word, thought Song-hoon. It is rare that an athlete combines passion, resilience, and tenacity. It is already obvious that the guy will become the face of the future for MMA. Sun-hoon decided for himself. Just one set, and that's it, Taeyeon yelled. Just finish me off. The impudent guy puffed. Although it is worth taking into account his sporting past, the eye-browed man realized. They practiced in the ring, worked on the paws, dodged, forced Huiso to bend over, the long-haired trainer. And once more, he barely managed to dive under the red paw. 2-1-2, the trainer commanded, and Huiso hit the paws with a loud slap. Hit without pauses in a fight, no one will wait for a blow, the coach instructed. Jiu-jitsu coach Lee Soo and Young Hwan watched the pad work. The strikes looked good. Good job. The long-haired man praised and announced a break. Bro, Young Hwan called him. He also came to practice. Since we arrived at the same time, why not chat, he suggested. Decided to join us. It's amazing, said Young Hwan. How to live without a best friend, Huiso answered him. You'll understand when you get older, the guy joked. Young Hwan was indignant. Did he really come on purpose to make fun of him? They were fooling around as cheers went up through the room. An old and, as usual, unshaven master arrived. Everyone in the hall deeply respected him. Everyone gather. There is an announcement. The trainer raised his hand to attract attention. He waited until everyone was seated and silent to listen to him. Who knows what this is? He held out several sheets of documents in his hand. The invitations were fired out from the hall, the master confirmed correctly. He snatched them thanks to his speed and gathered the team. Our master is the best gangster in the Wild West, the athletes shouted joyfully, and the old man grumbled. The invitation to the championship was explained to a friend by Chung Hwan. They are given to the team. Does that mean that anyone can participate? Asked the cheeky guy. The friend shook his head. Was he joking or something? It all depends on the strength of the team. The organizers look at what kind of show the team can put on. Other halls don't get such invitations. It all depends on the effort. Calm down, the unshaven coach grumbled. Now he will announce the participants. Kang Young-kun, who answered right away, a big guy with brown hair, he was a wrestling coach. Tai-chun, the second name on the team, is a striking coach. Both were Golden Glove winners in the past, an admiring Hui So learned. The third Yujin, the trainer called the name of the fit beauty. Hui So looked at the sports girl. He was told that they were the same age. She earned 5 wins in X1 in the lightweight division up to 52 kilograms, and her attractiveness led fans to dub her the goddess of MMA. It was as far away as the moon. The boy looked dreamily at those whom the coach had named. It was too early to think about a place in the league, so the boy began to study his toenails. Li Hui So, the last word was heard by them. Yes, it was him. The guy was stunned. Being invited like this, Hui Seo received many envious and displeased glances. The beauty looked with disdain at the impudent upstart. These are the terms of the organization, so no offense, the unshaven trainer quickly reassured the indignant ones. Or are there any objections? He looked sternly at the fighters and they fell silent. That's all for everyone who received an invitation to gather at Songhoon's. A heavy hand squeezed the back of his neck as the boy continued to stand rooted to the spot. Let's go and talk face to face, the old master called him. Everyone was so unhappy. Hui So was worried. So what? It was the organization's decision. He shouldn't worry about it, Sang-gun said. They all understand this. Stop thinking about others, the master reassured the guy. He asked who the invitation came from, and the master read the name of the fighting organization, X1. But how did Korea's best association find out about him? The boy was surprised. The video became popular, the coach explained. The monster that destroyed the professional fighter, that's what they call the impudent guy. So this is his debut. How soon? The guy was very surprised. But there was also a problem, the coach said. Jong-soo Cho, height 183, weight 87 kilograms, read Hui So. Welterweight, but that's not all. The match schedule, the coach said. September 9th, the boy read on the back. It's not a mistake. Today is the 18th of August, he asked. Right? The match with the substitution, the coach explained. The fighter dropped out due to injury. In 3 weeks, he will need to get his weight back to normal, analyze his opponent, and prepare. The enemy is larger, better trained, and has more experience, the unshaven master reassured. How are you going to get out of this? The trainer asked the impudent boy. Preparation usually takes at least 3 months. Without good balance against an experienced opponent, it's suicide. Let's try, the guy decided. You won't regret it, the old grumbler asked him. Let's do it, Hui So answered decisively, without a shadow of doubt in his voice. Tomorrow you'll sign the contract. Today you can rest, dandy, the old coach told him. And that's it. The master was not against it. Hui So was surprised, but he waved it off. If he was against it, he wouldn't have even suggested it. Did it mean that the match would be easy? The boy wondered. He was about to leave, but the coach called him back. Do his parents know that he is going to participate in a professional match? He asked him. No, not yet, the green goldfinch answered the master tensely. It was none of his business, the master grumbled, but it was better not to participate without his parents' consent. I'll tell you soon. The guy sighed heavily. The conversation will not be easy. Talk to your parents today, and we'll decide everything tomorrow, suggested the unshaven master. We need to respond tomorrow so that the organization can change the schedule if the coach explains anything. Don't be stubborn. Tell your parents the truth. If they refuse, you'll participate another time, the coach insisted. Hui So was delayed. The decision was not easy for him. Will there be another time? He answered in a resigned voice. He just asked, tomorrow, so tomorrow. The boy quickly put on a smile. Well, that's all, he said goodbye to the unshaven coach. He looked at the guy. What a troublesome dandy. It will be hard with him. The unshaven coach sighed tiredly. From Young-hwan, he knew that the boy had a strained relationship with his parents. It's so hard, it's infuriating. The unshaven coach got angry. Late in the evening, Hui So returned home to his parents. Today, he was earlier than usual, his mother noticed. His father was watching football. After training, first go to the shower. Hui So said that he washed himself in the gym, but his mother insisted that he could sweat on the way. While she was grumbling, her father almost hit her with a screaming blow. The team scored a goal. The tired woman dropped all the linen she was holding in her hands. We need to talk to them before Mom strangles Dad, the boy said. First a shower, the mother answered murderously, in a tone that brooked no objections. Then he was able to sit them down and tell them everything, as the coach demanded. What do you think, dear? asked the father. But the woman pressed her lips together. He always does what he wants. But then he suddenly decided to ask. His mother was clearly unhappy with everything that was happening. Now he confronts us with the fact that he has decided to do MMA, the mother responded sharply. It doesn't matter. She's definitely against whatever he says, the woman cried out in annoyance. But Mom, the boy tried to get through to her, but his mother quickly shut him up. 10 years without sleep or food so he could exercise, she said with pain. She stopped seeing her friends and worked herself to the point of exhaustion for him. And now he's saying again that he wants to do MMA. He clasped his hands. How much more should she compromise? She always gives in, she almost cried. Think about your mother at least once, she cried out, breathing heavily. Forget it, do whatever you want. All she does is clean up anyway, she said angrily and stood up abruptly. Wait, Mom, the boy gently took her hand, but she didn't stop. She sacrificed a lot for him, and he always felt ashamed of it, Huiso said. That's why he wants to get their permission, one last time. She looked at him with pain as only loving mothers can. Do what you want. The tired housewife went to her room. The boy could only watch his angry mother leave. She's just really worried about him, the father reassured. I know, the son replied. She only gets angry when she's really worried about him, the guy said. How you've grown, just look at him. His father patted him on the shoulder. But the son was wrong about something, said the father, moving closer. This woman is always angry. Just look at her neck, complained the father. And Huiso understood why the mother was angry all the time. Oh, you rascal, you're making fun of your father, they laughed. So he agrees, Huiso asked, and his father nodded. If he refuses, won't he be the one to blame later? But he won't, the now grown-up son said confidently. Take care of your mother, said father. You know how much effort he put into this. Huiso nodded. There was something else he wanted to say, Huiso remembered. He needed money for the participation fee, but he would return it. The father asked in the tone of an experienced financier. He held the money to his son, Huiso replied in the same tone. This is an investment. Who knows? Maybe he will earn 2 or 3 times more. The father heard but doubted. The bluff is obvious. If it were possible, it would have happened already, said the parent. You won't regret it, the son asked later. And if I make friends with women's groups? The smart guy suggested, and the old man pricked up his ears. They shook hands to show that they had just come to a mutual agreement. How much money does the future champion need? Asked the father, who suddenly changed his mind. It's a safe investment, the son replied. He won't regret it. The bedroom door opened quietly as the men were fooling around in the living room. Mom looked at them anxiously and closed the doors again. The heavy hammer hit the tire with force, as if it were being used to hammer in rails. Take a break, the coach told the strong athlete, and he threw down the sledgehammer. They haven't called yet? The fighter asked. He had been sweating since morning training and was still waiting for an answer. There were only 3 weeks left until the fight. He was worried. They would contact him soon, the coach confidently stated. They rejected 60 people from his weigh station, and for 2 weeks they could not find anyone to replace him. The association was worried. Don't push yourself so hard, the trainer told him. You'll still wear out your muscles. You just started training, fool. But all your efforts will go to waste if there is no fight, grumbled the hairy man. Just train, the coach insisted. If they don't get in touch, he'll call them himself. What a stubborn character like all fighters, thought the mustachioed trainer. A little later, he finally received a call from the association. The shaggy-haired Chan's son listened to who the coach was talking to. Director Song Do-shik, the Bangs-headed athlete asked. They found a replacement, and the long-haired athlete was immediately delighted. But who is this guy? Never heard of him. Lee Huiso, the coach read the name. It looks like a newbie who just got through the league, the Patlock assumed. It doesn't matter, he said, and went to train. Now the real spirit of training has appeared, he said, somewhere in another hall. Another athlete thought the same thing. They met with the bushy-browed coach before signing the contract. Once you join their club, the gym takes 10% for itself, Song-hoon said. Not bad, Huiso noted. Usually the audience takes 3/10 for themselves. Our master believes in this. Athletes are a priority for him. Maybe I can make an exception and charge him more if he's not happy, the big-browed man asked. And the boy quickly changed the subject. It's a one-time contract, explained the eyebrow. The fund is 2 million. $1 million for the win. Watch your weight. If you weigh more, you will have to pay a stiff penalty, warned Song-hoon. You'll give me all the winnings, the cheeky young man agreed quite honestly. It's the athlete's responsibility to monitor his weight. As for other details, you'll find out for yourself. More questions, finished the eyebrowed man. How much will they give for the victory? The big-browed man chuckled. This was the question he was waiting for. After all the deductions, taxes, fees, there will be 3 3/10 million left. The impudent boy started drooling at such a sweet sum. Are you going to retire after this fight? Asked the big-browed man, and the guy flatly refused. He would cling to every opportunity. Such opportunities are rare and take a long time to come, so try hard, the bushy-browed trainer warned. Hui So tensed up and listened carefully. He was really involved in a serious matter. It's not enough to just win. You need to put on a show. Organizations don't do charity work, the big-browed man explained. If you don't have enough skills, show some fighting spirit. If that's not enough, at least don't shit your pants. The coach frowned. If you don't prepare properly, your fans will quickly forget about you, warned Browstick. You need to invest more than your full potential. Put a cross on the contract and return to training, said Sung Hoon. We need to learn all the strategies and tactics against Cho Sun. The guy said it well. In what direction? He will learn wrestling, the bushy-browed trainer smiled. He stood in front of the massive young Kun, who outweighed him by several weights. The fighter made a sharp movement with his whole body. They were practicing wrestling. There was no need to fear blows. Under such pressure, Hui So instinctively retreated towards the net. Young Kun easily passed the defense and held the boy by grabbing him and taking him in a hold with his other hand. His head was propped up by Hui So's chin. He couldn't move. He was pressed down tightly. Did he grease his legs with Vaseline or something? The big-browed man was indignant. Why did the enemy make such an easy pass? He yelled at Hui So. Wrestling is great for finishing blows, so they'll start with that, the big-browed man in the office said. Chung Su's style is simple. He avoids grabs well, even though he has nothing special. He knows his opponents well and is trained. He's bigger, so he's guaranteed to use grabs. If he can't handle them, it'll be hard. He'll drag you to the bottom of your stamina. Therefore, wrestling skills are a must. But will he be able to learn them in such a short time? He hasn't done wrestling before, the guy asked. What about Korean wrestling? He used to do it. The thick-browed man clarified. We're talking about Raw Hui. So understood what he was talking about and exclaimed, if it's Raw, he'll beat anyone. The impudent guy boastfully poked himself in the chest. He was confident in his skills, but he was fighting with young Kun now. His strength was leaking out like air from a balloon, as if he were fighting a gorilla and not a man. He stepped inside young Kun's stance with his right foot. It was time to get out or the big guy would just crush him and cut off his supporting leg. Young Kun felt his strong body collapse. Now that he had lost his balance, Hui So grabbed his opponent's shoulder with his right hand. In one movement, he turned and threw away Yang Kun, who was standing on one leg. As if he had turned a wardrobe, the impudent guy thought. Hui So didn't let go and completed the rotation. Now he pressed Yang Kun to the net. Damn, he's good. Even the big guy had trouble with the nimble kid. As soon as he regained his balance, Hui So had already made a pass to the legs and grabbed the opponent under the knees. He wants to knock him down. Yang Kun got angry at such insolence. He spread his legs wider and leaned his body to prevent himself from folding. And this is not a joke. The blonde trainer also watched their fight. He kept his balance well and used holds, he noticed. Who would have thought? It seemed like Young Kun could easily deal with the newbie. And now he was puffing with all his might, holding back the impudent athlete. Young Kun is a veteran wrestler, and he easily spun Hui So around and they switched positions again. The wrestler's big hands passed the brash guy's defense, and they locked in a grip behind his back, as if Hui So was being grabbed by steel pincers. The big guy lifted the light guy off the ground and deprived him of his support. Hui So didn't wait to be thrown into the ring, his right leg hooked under the opponent's knee. He stood on his left knee, gaining a point of support. He made an incredible move. Turning his body, he broke the grip of Young Kun, who lost his balance due to the sweep. Even if he was caught in a hold, he would break free every time with an incredible movement. The experienced Young Kun was surprised. You know a thing or two, Li Hui. So, I'll have to teach you, said the big guy. You are surprised too early, the eldest. The impudent guy caught his breath. They met again in the center of the ring, taking each other into a clinch. The guy quickly got used to MMA. After Korean wrestling, he noticed the eyebrows. In MMA, everything is not as simple as in regular wrestling, as the daring young man realized. What was his weight before they left the hall? Asked the bushy-browed Sun Hoon. They were on their way to the weigh-in. X1 allows for an overweight of 0.5 kilo, so we'll pass, the trainer replied after hearing the result. But he didn't eat anything, he clarified. No, the guy sighed. He didn't drink water either. He weighed himself a lot when he was wrestling. He knows all about it. You only talk about wrestling no matter what you ask. The bushy-browed trainer grumbled. Why alone? What about friends? The cheeky guy looked at the girl next to him. She waved it off. She's just free today. Maybe you'll just get lost. Why do we need a girl? The boy was cheeky. But who will look after his things? The girl asked. Then sit quietly like a doorman. Hui so grimaced. Can I beat him up? She asked the eyebrow sticker. How friendly you are, Song-hoon noted. And what about his other friends? He asked the guy, and he replied that he hadn't told them yet. He's just afraid of losing, that's why he didn't say anything, the cheeky girl sneered. Some people are walking on very thin ice. Hui so smiled. The ice is cracked, said the cheeky guy and gave the cutie a slap. Lovers quarrel only to make up, sighed Song-hoon as the couple began to clash. Hui-so couldn't help but let out a sigh of surprise as they entered. Inside the large room, there were quite a lot of people. The atmosphere was different from what he felt in the basement when he watched Young Hwan's fight. Stop staring and follow me, the bushy-browed man told him. The cheeky girl hissed. Our seats, Song-hoon told him to take them, and wait, the guy nodded. Hui-so obediently took his seat and looked around. He immediately noticed him. His future rival stood out sharply from the rest of the people. Cho Sun-cho, he asked the bushy-browed trainer, who confirmed and told him not to stare so hard. Don't look. Don't say hello until you reach the star down. The battle of glances, explained the eyebrowed one. Why greet them? They're going to fight later. He decided to play at being polite, grumbled the big-browed man. Simplicity itself, he is still doing it, said Song-hoon. Now he understood when the bushy-browed coach told him about it. Bangs deliberately doesn't look at him, even knowing that Hui-so might be looking. They were separated by several meters, but both pretended that the opponent did not exist. The weigh-in ceremony began and the fighters walked up to the podium one by one. Their weigh-in was announced, and the brow-stick man stood up to call Hui-so, but stopped short. Let's go. The reckless guy had already undressed and was standing in just his sweatpants. What a fool, what a cheeky girl who hit him on the seat with her trained leg. Why did he undress before the announcement? She asked embarrassedly, but didn't show it, but he still had to undress. The carefree guy answered. And what kind of ridiculous family shorts are you wearing? The girl blushed. These are her father's. Women don't understand how important they are, the cheeky guy answered. Finally, he was called and the team trudged up to the podium with the scales. It's all officially counted, Lee Hui-so, 77.2. Excellent, Sun-hoon met him. You can't be called a pro if you can't even do that, the impudent girl grumbled. I don't care, she said. Put your pants on already. She shoved the pants at the guy, but he refused. It's hot after all. What kind of animal is this? He got dressed quickly, but the guy dug his heels in. A strange chuckle came from the audience and the couple froze. Who will marry me now? The beauty blushed. I won't forgive you, she threw his pants and ran away. What kind of ridiculous embarrassment was this? Hui-so childishly didn't understand, watching her go. The star down begins. Hui-so heard his name on the speakers. They stood in a stance opposite each other. Cho Woo-jung was indeed taller and more massive, but he looked exhausted. His skin was dry and taut. Apparently, he had undergone intensive drying. Tomorrow there would be another person in front of him, noted Hui-so. Will he be able to win? Hui-so wondered when he heard his opponent's voice. How annoying he said it. Not even in the amateur league, what a loser Cho Woo-cheong made a face. What were you thinking when you agreed to fight? It was a disgrace in sparring, your bangs were spread out. Who was he holding on to? The league director helped him get through. The opponent was grimacing. What did Hui-so think was wrong with him? It's clear that he's being provoked, but it's so annoying. Don't provoke your opponent, warned the man from the association. Let's give it our all and not let each other down, the fighter with the bangs quipped. Are you deaf or something? You need to answer when you are addressed. The enemy was clinging to you, but Hui-so shaved him off. Shut the fan, it's blowing. He asked for a replacement himself, and now he whines when they clean up after him. Hui-so straightened up and scratched the back of his head. He should have said thank you since he saved this match, and not whined like a woman, dissatisfied refuse, the impudent guy declared. You've completely lost your mind, Cho Woo-chung got angry. They knocked on your door earlier, Hui-so said sarcastically. What should I write on your grave? The bangs-headed man leaned his forehead against the ground and bared his teeth. I'll smear it like a sniffle. But he didn't finish. He was roughly pushed away, pressing on his throat. The shaggy fighter was completely enraged. Dehydration was taking its toll. The coach and organizers barely managed to stop the big guy when he rushed at the impudent guy. If you're unhappy with something, show it in battle, not with your tongue, said the cheeky guy at last and bent down to pick up his pants. Oh, I almost forgot, the guy definitely caught the wave of his bravado. They are only a year apart. No need to put on airs, he said. When he returned home, he found his mother alone. His father had been taken fishing by his boss, just like in the old days. Mother washed the dishes. They never spoke properly since then. The tired woman was very worried but remained silent. Huiso walked up to his mother and hugged the little woman tightly. Let her go, she told him. I think I'll fight better if I know I have support, he told his mother. He had a fight tomorrow. He held her in a gentle embrace while she did the dishes. Huiseo bit his lips. His mother was still angry at him, but there was nothing he could do about it. I'll go to my place, he said, not wanting to put any more pressure on her. Tomorrow they'll show him on TV, the guy bragged. With heavy thoughts, he turned to leave for the room. If you want to eat, he heard from his mother. When it is necessary to make peace, his mother will always feed him. You need to eat before the fight, otherwise you won't have enough strength, she told him. Mom, Huiso pulled, and a weight suddenly fell from his soul. Make no mistake, if you lose, I don't want it to be because of me, the loving mother grumbled. What will you eat? She asked a little more softly, concern taking over. Spaghetti, less pasta, more meat. The son was delighted, and she told him to take a shower and wait. So light, like a feather, he hadn't lifted her for a long time, the boy said cheerfully as he picked up his mother in his arms. The arena is flooded with light. The octagon is surrounded by a net. The fight is about to begin. Huiso was warming up on his paws with the eyebrowed one. Don't forget about protection, he instructed. Great, that's enough. You can rest, he told him after the warm-up. He said the blonde guy in good shape, and that made him feel uneasy, Song-hoon noted. Look how relaxed he is, the old coach asked the guy so easily, and he joked that he relaxed in advance because he was waiting for him. 2 pieces of advice for this fight, said the unshaven coach. First, give Cho Woo-jung 10 times in the face. As if it were easy, the guy mumbled. Don't rush. Hit according to tactics. Provoke a blow. He's a master at this. The trainer continued, massaging the athlete. What about the second piece of advice? Asked the cheeky boy. Listen, don't panic. If everything gets out of control, Song-hoon will tell you what to do, the boy thought. Why are you silent? His coach asked him. What should he do if his intuition tells him to do the opposite of what Song-hoon said? Huiso answered. Usually it's clear what to do, but Song-hoon doesn't let you do it. The thick-browed one frowned upon hearing his name. Do as you see fit, his old trainer reassured him, much to the indignation of the big-browed man. What is this? Sung-hoon asked himself. The coach told the boy to do what he wants, but not to lose his temper. Master Sang wanted to challenge such a statement by the eyebrowed man, but the command to start was given in the locker room. Let's go! The unshaven coach pushed the impudent boy towards the exit. They walked down a dark corridor, the blinding light of the arena shining through the passage. There it was, the same exciting feeling that had gripped Hui. So the first time he heard the noise of the crowd. The unshaven trainer watched the guy's reaction carefully. Many fighters were embarrassed by the large number of spectators. Just the thing to get in the mood for the fight, said the guy. Great, replied the unshaven master. Let's warm up. While Hui Seo was shadowboxing, Sung-hoon quietly approached Sang-guk. He is responsible for this fight. Why did he tell the guy to stop listening to him? The bushy-browed master asked. Leave him alone. Let him be willful, said the unshaven coach. But he is making his debut. How can you allow him to do whatever he wants? The thick-browed one grumbled discontentedly. He's not like the master. If he listens to advice and loses, he won't return to the ring. But Sang-guk stood his ground. In other halls, Huiso was told what to do, and only because of this he refused the elite club. The master replied, let him do what he wants. The match was commented on by the hosts, Li Hui. So came out in the blue corner. They announced the start of the main fight. Debut match, he had been practicing MMA for only a month, defeated with 1 punch and succeeded in sparring. The commentators accompanied Huiso's exit. Newcomers rarely appear in such an arena, and he will really have a hard time coping, they continued. In the red corner is the rising star of the arena with 3 wins under his belt. Cho Woo-jung. The spectators are actively supporting him, but will he justify the trust? Don't worry, move quickly but stay calm, the unshaven trainer instructed. Blue corner, star rookie, height 1.78 m, weight 77 kilograms, Li Huiso. The guy confidently entered the cage. Red corner, a fighter 183 meters tall, weighing 77 kilograms. The future of Korea's welterweight, the wild stallion Cho Woo-chung. The participants went to the center, the referee gave the command, and they almost collided heads. Cho Woo-jong was noticeably taller. Elastic muscles, not at all like the one at the weigh-in, Huiso noticed. You have to be careful of his grabs. He was preparing for the fight when his opponent spoke to him. Make sure you learn everything well, he muttered through his mouth guard. This is his last pro fight, his opponent promised menacingly, but Huiso didn't care. Loser, are you still angry or something? The cheeky boy with the bangs egged him on. He's not just rude, he's also stupid. Focus on the match. Cho Woo's face twisted in anger. Blue is ready, red is ready, fight. The referee gave them the command. The gong sounded. His gait is light, which means he's calm. The thick-browed trainer watched Huiso. Prepare a bucket of ice and Vaseline, asked the bushy-browed man, anticipating many heavy blows and cuts. The crowd cheered, and Sun Hoon felt a chill. What happened? He asked, and turned sharply and looked into the cage. What happened? Cho Woo-jung was lying with a broken nose. Huiso was standing over him. As soon as the fight began, Cho Woo-jung attacked first in order to quickly deal with the impudent newcomer. He moved confidently, not expecting any surprises at all. A short left jab shot into the face like a magnum. The right straight flew straight into the bangsman's jaw without delay, a clear 2. Li Hui so knocked out his opponent within 10 seconds of the fight and towered over him. The shaggy one sat down on the ring as if all the arrogance had been knocked out of him at once. Pull yourself together, Cho Woo-jung, his mustachioed trainer yelled at the banged man. The fight wasn't over yet. He barely dodged Huiso's finishing blow from above. The fighter rose sharply. The attack had thrown him off balance, but he quickly recovered. He raised his hands and took a stance. The commentators went crazy from such a start. Cho Yu thought nothing. Now he will get his rhythm back. But Huiso didn't wait for his opponent to rest. He gathered himself and lowered his body forward a little. With one jerk, the daring guy closed the distance. Cho Yu didn't have time to react. He received a right on the way out, again on his broken nose. The fighter lost his balance and fell back. The fast Huiso crushed the massive opponent. The blow shook and stunned the man with the bangs, and the situation suddenly became catastrophic. And yet he stayed on his feet. Huiso was approaching, but not looking for trouble. The shaggy man gathered himself into a box, pressed his forearms to his body, and covered his face with his hands. He stopped, which means he wants to be hit harder. Huiso put more force into the blow. He showered his opponent with powerful combinations in order to break through his defense. Focusing his attacks from above, he ducked and hooked the ribs, hitting behind the elbow. Cho Yu gritted his teeth from the pain in his spleen and felt sick. The proud fighter could not stand such a one-sided exchange. Opened up and went for a breakthrough. He fired a powerful punch to throw his opponent back, but Huiso easily ducked under the drawn-out strike. Cho Yu's right hand hit him so hard that his head turned in the opposite direction. His strong build, flexible and strong muscles absorbed some of the energy from the blow, and that was the only reason he hadn't fallen yet. He took a wide step forward and attacked over the top, still hoping to win the exchange. Huiso watched the strike as if in slow motion. He clearly read every move of his opponent. The left countercross landed cleanly, doubling the damage to the chelkastum. It's impossible. When did he manage to make a counterattack? Such a technique is not what you expect from a beginner. Both fighters lost their balance, but Cho Woo staggered more. Huiso regained his balance early and closed in on his opponent again. In a desperate attempt to save himself, the bangs-faced one made a pass at the legs to knock down the fast guy. The cheeky boy stepped back and lowered his body into a low stance, not allowing himself to be knocked over. Let's puff, he smiled. The enemy was wasting his last strength on futile attempts. Huiso stood up and pushed the beaten-up Chelcast away from him. They returned to the counter again. The spectators were going crazy. The experienced fighter couldn't do anything to the newcomer. Cho Yu was up against the net, breathing heavily. Huiso raised his hands. He showed no signs of fatigue and waited. The bushy-browed coach couldn't look away. He thought that Huiso would be at a disadvantage. The opponent was superior to him in skills and experience. The daring guy opening his defense rushed forward, closing the distance. He wants to fight, thought the bangs-headed man, and prepared to block Huiso. But instead of fighting, the daring guy froze at the last second, and he delivered a straight left punch to Cho Yu's open forelock. Unconventional strikes, feints, broken rhythm. This is his true style that Sun Hoon understood. The same thing happened with the skinhead. He destroyed the opponent's rhythm and his sense of distance. Without preparation, you can't use that. Huiso's hands clasped behind Cho Woo's head, and he grabbed him tightly. Like a panther, the flexible guy jumped up, raising his knee to strike. His entire body mass concentrated in one point and broke through Cho Wu's defense. Everything in his eyes started shaking and swimming. How could it be that Cho Yu stopped hearing everything that was happening around him? He tried to make another pass to the legs and take the fight to the ground, but Huiso's legs were too wide apart. I told him so, Huiso thought, easily controlling his opponent with his hand from above. Don't talk nonsense, show me. He loaded his magnum. The explosive uppercut blew Cho Wu's jaw off so hard that he lost his mouthguard. The back of his head fell onto his back from Huiso's monstrous blow. Browstick couldn't believe his eyes. And the unshaven old man enjoyed the fight. Huiso was already flying towards his downed opponent to finish him off on the ground, but the referee jumped on top and stopped the match. Huiso stood over his fallen opponent and caught his breath. 1 minute and 49 seconds. The commentators were shouting at the same time whether there had been such an explosive debut before. Everyone who followed Huiso will never forget this fight. The guy clenched his fists. Adrenaline went through his body in waves. He did not immediately understand that the fight was over. A flawless victory. The whole hall rejoiced. The triumphant raised his fists in a victory pose. He passed out instantly as soon as he sat down in the comfortable chair in the back seat. The old master snored like a pig. Leave him alone, he did a good job, objected the eyebrow bearer. Yes, it's not about Huiso, but about this one. The grumpy old man pointed his finger back. What a pig, they slapped the coach on the forehead. He probably worked harder than everyone else. Wasn't that a great fight? Who would have thought that he would avoid all the punches and finish in the first round? Said the brow wrestler. True, the old man agreed. He knew the guy was good, but he didn't think he was that good. Today his heart was beating fast. Then, the eyebrow-shaped man remembered the last minutes after the fight. Huiso lifted the blonde Taesu onto his shoulders and they entered the arena to see the winner. The guy was sincerely jubilant, rejoicing in his victory, and they all rejoiced with him. Song-hoon felt confused and didn't know how to react to the results of the fight. Song-hoon, a cheerful guy, tore him away from his thoughts. He won, I saw. His laughter and joy were infectious. Good job, smiled the thick-browed man. I didn't hear his recommendations at all, the guy asked. It's all because he did well, Song-hoon answered. It was cool, the coach told him, 1,000 points, and the pleased, cheeky newcomer broke into a smile. He said that he would help, but he himself was silent, as if he had abandoned the fighter. His eyebrows were turning over heavy thoughts. Master Sang-guk, on the other hand, knew what the guy needed and gave him confidence, which turned the fight in the right direction. Amazing, Sung-hoon thought. The boss knows how much he is respected, he asked. What is needed now? The unshaven master grumbled. Why do they suspect him of self-interest? The man with the thick eyebrows was surprised. Stop trying to build a saint who is always picky about little things, grumbled the old man. You whine about your stubble, you're even embarrassed to come to the gym, the old trainer grumbled. Yes, it's just an excuse. He's lazy. That's why he doesn't go. The big-browed man was indignant, and he even argues with me all the time, grumbled Sang-guk. And why does he always drive them? Now let him drive them all himself, grumbled the unshaven master. As soon as they came to this, the bushy-browed one was surprised. And what about a dinner at the company's expense for 600,000? Here you eat the last ramen without salt. And here it's like this, you can't shut up the grumbling. All this respect is just chatter, at least once said when you take energy drinks. Song-hoon stuck the earphone in his ear to save himself. The world suddenly became a pleasant, comfortable place without stress. No one is without vice, Song-hoon thought. The cheeky young man dressed up and showed up at the cafe the next day. Hey, Goldfinch, come here, his friends at the table called him. This is where those blockheads are, thought the cheeky young man. The star has come? Fall down on your faces, greeted Huiso. It seems he caught the crown, declared his friend. Only now did the other object. What's more important is why our friend was running around naked in his underwear in the arena, his bespectacled comrade asked. Why didn't he say anything? They had to find out everything online. His comrades were indignant. There was no time. The impudent guy justified himself. 3 weeks to prepare everything, said Huiso. Pathetic excuses. He is no longer friends with us, just teasing friends. It was impossible not to notice that Huiso was now really getting attention from young people watching MMA. They stared and whispered behind their friends' backs without any embarrassment. Oh, now you hide your face under a cap like a star, they asked him. Just got caught in the arm. Wait, so became embarrassed. On the way here, he had already caught a couple of inquisitive glances. Popularity had fallen like a sudden avalanche. For 10 years, he had been involved in sports and no one cared. And now in just 2 minutes of fighting, he had received so much attention. Enough about him. How are they doing? Asked Huiso. The bespectacled man was working part-time to get back to preparatory school. You need to find a permanent job. Won't part-time jobs affect your studies? Asked the cheeky guy. You need to graduate from college, answered He-Bomb. I will be a civil servant, said the second comrade, with a serious look. Both friends stared at him as if he had said something unimaginable. A poor student wants to become a civil servant, what a pattern. His friends laughed. But they were right after him on the academic list. What kind of fools are they? Pak Min frowned. They were chatting happily about the good old days when Huiso felt a vibration in his pocket. He took out his phone. The guy was surprised why his father suddenly decided to call. Busy, he heard his father's worried voice on the phone. No, what happened? Asked the responsible son. At the corporate party, I'll be late. If with friends, then you'll drink too, asked the father. Mother is left alone at home if you can. Come home early to have lunch with her, said father. That's right. She waited for him all night, thought Huiso, and understood why her father called. No matter how excited he was, he should have stayed with her. It's okay, he told his father. He was planning to come back early anyway. Yesterday, I didn't say this. The fight was great. I'm proud of you, son. I heard Huiso, the most important words in life. Yes, nonsense, he smiled, happy as an elephant, thanks, Dad. I think I'll be back early today, he told his friends when he hung up. He said you would hang out with us all night. His friends were surprised. It's just that next time he'll treat you, Hui, so promised his comrades. He waved goodbye to them and hurried home because his mother was waiting. He should have said it right away, we all know it anyway, Che-Bum noted. And Park Min, his mother's boy, correctly agreed with him. Huiso walked, jumping quickly, his soul unusually light. He took out his phone while walking home. The thick-browed trainer was calling. The prize money has arrived. Check it, Sun Hoon asked him, and the guy went into the account. 1,165,000 for the match. He received a tidy sum. He got the main event bonus, and they transferred another 10 million for that. He had been poor for so many years while he was involved in sports, but one fight changed everything, the cheeky guy thought with regret. He met her on the way home. She was standing with her back to him behind the counter. A short, sweet woman was trying to get a discount on vegetables. Even from afar, she was so beautiful, Huiso thought as he looked at his mother. He had been told that his father had been one of many admirers when they were younger, and that seemed to be true. He smiled. She had wasted her youth and beauty on him, the boy realized with pain. His mother finished her shopping while he was thinking and headed towards the house. Mom, he snuck up behind her and suddenly hugged her tightly. Scared me to death, couldn't you have called first? The beautiful woman grumbled. Why go so far, he asked. It was the same near the house when he took the bag. It's cheaper here. A short walk is good exercise, the mother answered sternly. For the sake of 1,001, she went so far, dragging a heavy bag, a loving son. They had to spend money on his sports activities, and now they were saving every penny. Didn't he go out with friends? His mother asked. The caring son waved her off. They had things to do, he said. Maybe we should have dinner at a restaurant, suggested Huiso. But why? Grumbled his mother. She had already bought everything. He had made a little money today, the son said proudly, so they could just leave the groceries at home. How much did he earn? She asked. It was a secret, the son answered, but he would show her when he earned well in the future. The tired woman laughed easily. I'll repay you 100 times over, Huiso thought as he watched her laugh. What do you want to eat, sashimi or seafood? The satisfied mother answered. It was not at all necessary. They walked home peacefully. The manager waited patiently for the X1 boss to look at everything. The director watched the fight attentively. The shouts of the crowd and commentators were heard through the speakers. They watched a video of a fight between a brash newcomer who had just recently started training in MMA. The guy made his debut a month later and showed himself well. He completely dominated his opponent throughout the fight. He used high techniques and tricks, defended himself well, and by all indications, he was a high-class fighter. Impressive and spectacular jump kicks, the crowd roared with delight, and a brilliant knockout at the end of the second round. An incredible fight, the director thought. The recording ended quickly, but the feeling of a good fight did not go away. What do you say, director? Asked the assistant and turned on the light when the video came to an end. He fights so damn well the director couldn't hold back his emotions. He is really a newbie, he was surprised, since you haven't seen him. That means he is definitely a newbie, the manager replied. It was worth leaving on a business trip, and here is a whole treasure. What team is he on? The director asked. Team Attack, the assistant answered. This is the guy who refused Director Kim, the manager reminded. That's why he has a dissatisfied face, the director realized. He got into trouble because of that, the assistant added. It's not surprising. He was set up by the person who asked for help. The director laughed. But we won't have any problems with that, he asked his assistant. The guy refused the money because he wanted to train with Sanguk, the assistant reported, which means he is loyal. 22 years old, served in the army, was read a resume by an assistant, received $2 million for the battle, and was also given a bonus. So in total, he received $3 million, the director calculated. Get it no matter what? Let him choose his own matches if he wants. The director lit up. I'll get to it after the holidays. My assistant took over. The match just ended. There is one more person who caught the manager's attention. That's all, said the manager. He still has a meeting, so he won't be returning to the office. And I'll take the card, said the manager. Of course, don't deny yourself anything, the director allowed. He loves MMA, but hasn't been this excited in a long time, the manager noted. I wonder how far this guy will go, the manager thought. The director turned on the recording again. He became very excited, as if he had become younger. How well he fights, the director of X1, the largest MMA fight organization, said again. Huiseo walked slowly, enjoying the fresh air. It was a warm autumn, not hot and not cold, just what you need for a walk. Oh, a familiar back. His gaze involuntarily slid over the girl's slender figure. Ming Yu, he cheerfully called the obstinate girl, since they had already met. The beauty recognized his voice and turned around. This idiot again, she thought. Without saying anything, he walked forward as before. What a little pest, thought Huiseo. What a joy to meet her. The guy came closer. Stop pretending that they are friends, the girl bristled. Stop pretending to be smart. He snatched the small book from her hands. What a children's book, he assessed the cover with butterflies. Kindergarten, the guy said. This is philosophical literature. She gave the impudent guy a slap. Wow, so you can read. And how interestingly the cheeky boy asked, You still won't understand even if I explain, the thorn answered. Come on, who can't read maps, he asked. It's written there about wise relationships, the art of life, and the history of mankind. She became embarrassed. Is she really a nerd? The guy whispered with his lips. I'll strangle him now if he doesn't stop. The beauty remained unperturbed. I don't recognize him at all, the guy noted. My mother didn't teach me not to talk to strangers, she asked. When they arrived in the hall, she continued to calmly ignore him and read. What a difficult character, the guy looked at the cute thorn. There he is, the slacker. Song-hoon entered the office. What are you sitting around for? He asked. Oh, Mr. Eyebrows, the rascal greeted. Let's go out, Song-hoon called him. What else? Hurry to the director's office for a minute, he said. Take this. Song-hoon handed over a stack of documents for the guy. This. He read more closely into the boring lines, with a not at all boring result. A contract from X1, the cheeky guy exclaimed excitedly. They want to sign an official contract, Song-hoon confirmed. Surprised, he asked the boy. He thought this would happen later. He was happy. A debut without a single missed shot, they couldn't miss it, the bushy-browed coach answered confidently. He was very lucky, he told the cheeky guy, who didn't understand whether it was a compliment or not. It's exciting, even though Cho Yu couldn't show everything then. He didn't fight in his style. It won't be so easy from now on, the eyebrowed man warned. The daring guy truly understood that if his opponent had not underestimated him and not provoked him, he himself could have ended up being beaten. It happens in different ways, continued Song-hoon. Sign the contract. He promised to tell the details later. 3 years, 3 matches. Even if you don't manage to play all the matches, the contract will end in 3 years. But what about the opposite? If in the first year he participates in 3 matches and is unable to perform? The athlete asked. Good question. Look at the 4th point. Group versus group. The contract for the exchange of fighters was read by Huiseo. This allows him to fight for other associations while they are owned by X1. The organizations conduct a dialogue directly, without intermediaries and taxes. Additional expenses are paid by the organization, and the training camp is paid by the fighters. It looks like there's a lot to pay, the internal financial consultant tensed up. The prize money may be modest, but with this contract, even if things go badly, they won't be able to fire him because the benefits are more important than the prize money. You might think that the association is being greedy, but they do a great job of ensuring risks so that the athlete ends up winning. An important point, Sun-hoon pointed out, is that if he joins the SFC association, the contract is automatically considered canceled. They are the main competitor for X1, so to ensure everything runs smoothly, there is a ban on exchanging fighters between them. What's wrong? Sung-hoon asked the worried boy, who was impressed by the mere mention of SFC. They arbitrarily declared themselves the best platform. Even though the standards of the sport rose, small organizations retained the title of impeccable. It is not surprising that even those who know little about this sport have heard of it. That's right, and now he won't be able to have anything to do with them for 3 years. The eyebrow guy grinned. Why did he do this? The guy asked. Insurance, the bushy-browed trainer moved on to the next point. If it is less than 500,000, the fighter pays more. The organization. The penalties for incorrect weighing are the same, Sun Hoon read out. We've sorted out the main thing. It's time to count money, of course. The impudent financier rubbed his hands. The lowest salary is $1 million. The base salary is 2, plus half for a win. For each win, the base salary will increase. Not sure about the pay, Huiso said. The rate is higher, but the bonuses for wins are lower. These are bonuses for newcomers. After their debut, experienced fighters need to win 8 fights to receive the same bonuses, explained the eyebrowed one. It would be possible to make a personal deal to get more. But there is no point in straining the association. The conditions are already the best that can be obtained. The last one is the bonus system. A prize for the fighter who puts on the most exciting fight. But he already knows. He has already received one. He finished, with the bushy eyebrows. Remember this carefully before you sign the contract, said the serious, bushy-browed coach. It won't be easy anymore. Now everyone knows what he's capable of, and will be ready. You should learn to fight in different styles and work harder, so be ready. Yes, exclaimed the impudent guy. Song-hoon waited until the boy put a cross next to his name and reached into his pocket. A present, he placed another paper on the table in front of Hui-so. The new match is already being announced. The daring athlete was surprised. On New Year's Eve, he has a new match and a new opponent. The coach smiled contentedly. A crowd of bandits with bats and rebar picturesquely surrounded the hero in the center. With shouts, they rushed at him in a well-rehearsed sequence. Well-placed, wide swings that fit into the frame. They hit within millimeters of the hero in the middle, who also moved well. The stuntman turned his head in time and the fist slid across his face. Immediately after him, the next extra attacked, as if during a rehearsal. He was thrown back with a beautiful and effective roundhouse kick. The crowd of bandits parted, letting the fighter who had flown away pass. They screamed and rushed with redoubled fury. It looked natural. Dai, the extra, jumped up and flew at the actor in the center of the parking lot. They spun around in crazy twisting strokes. A flying spinning kick hit the target. They worked well. The actor kicked at head level, demonstrating good flexibility and form. The extra was very surprised, after all. They were getting more than they were supposed to on the set today. But the lead actor didn't hesitate to give it his all. The last one left, the main character turned around at the sound of footsteps. Come on, he read out a memorized line according to the script. The big man clenched his sledgehammer fists and assumed a defensive stance. His hair was tousled by the sudden movements as they moved towards each other. The lead actor leaned over and raised his knee for a sidekick. The foot flew firmly into the open defense, and at the moment of impact, the long-haired guy managed to jump to the side and sink. He pretended to gasp after being hit and fell to his knees. The actor stood over the fallen enemy, clenching his fists tightly. That's all. He looked down menacingly, allowing the cameraman to take a close-up. It was filmed, there was a scream on the set, the scene ended, and the lights came on the set. Good shots of Sang-hoon. The director praised the main actor. The worried cameraman ran up to the extra. He saw how badly he got it. We didn't overdo it? He asked the long-haired guy how he was. We need to finish it in one take. We won't be reshooting. The big guy shook himself off. Don't strain yourself so much anyway, the man told him. How could he let him down after he got this role for him? Hai-seok scratched his head. Be patient. When I become famous, I will not forget about you, his friend promised him. The phone rang at the hairdresser Hee-seok and he bowed, stepping aside. Of course I agree, his friend heard the loud cry of the long-haired guy. They called from the audience. He will have a fight on the main card. Things are getting better. The big guy rejoiced. And when is the fight? His comrade asked. On New Year's Eve, he answered joyfully. They watched the recording of the fight. The long-haired brute held his defense tightly as if he were a rock. His opponent hit with all his might. Desperately and with a sweeping motion, it was obvious how tired he was. Despite his large body, the strong man deftly dodged numerous blows. He waited for the right moment and kicked his opponent in the ribs, and he finished him off with a quick hook from the left, with minimal delay. The match ended in a quick victory. The big guy showed good fundamentals. What do you think? Asked his bushy-browed trainer, a normal fight without holds and wrestling in a standing position, noted Hui-so. 4 fights in the amateur league, 2 professional fights, the basis of karate, 3rd dan, victory at the nationals, Red Song-hoon. He has good fundamentals, a real thorn, they attack a lot, have good endurance, explained the bushy-browed coach. Endurance is like a battery level. No matter how a person copes mentally, if he is exhausted, he will not be able to move. Many professionals who train for many years can freeze and get hit, not because they don't want to move or don't know how. There are 3 types of strategies for this match, Bravastic continued. The first option is grabs and pushes. He's bad at them, but Huiso is bad too, so that option is out. The guy is pinned. The second one is to outshine him in endurance, but the impudent boy is smaller and has worse endurance, so this one is also out of luck. What is the third option? Asked Song-hoon. To go out and win. The impudent athlete threw up his hands. Bingo! The usually calm eyebrow twister suddenly exclaimed. Attack relentlessly and crush his defenses until you break through him completely. If he were that strong, he wouldn't think about strategy and would just attack with all his might. Huiso sighed. Such attacks don't exist, the eyebrow man said. But there is technology, he noticed. What kind of technology? The impudent boy pricked up his ears. Muay Thai, also known as Thai boxing. Sun Hun simply answered him. This type of martial arts, the strongest in attack, especially elbow and knee strikes, master it, and you will be able to break his defense, Haiseok. Let's start right now, suggested the bushy-browed guy. But the impudent guy was surprised who to learn from. Don't worry, everything is ready, Song-hoon praised himself. He will now be introduced as the only Thai boxing specialist on the team, said Sun-hoon. Here he is, the great slob with the bangs, Chung-hwan. There was a silent pause. Huiso couldn't find anything to answer and wondered if this was a joke. He doesn't inspire confidence. He smiled tensely at his best friend. Sung-hoon asked him to teach the impudent blockhead how to hit with his knee and elbow. But Jung-hwan didn't agree with it, surprising Huiso. You can't hit your opponent with your elbow on the ground, and you can't hit him with your knee when he's leaning on 3 points. At the moment, the most Huiso can do is just push and kick, his friend noted. That's why you need to study the flame, said the friend. What kind of plum is this? Huiso didn't understand. One of the important holds in Thai boxing for delivering elbow and knee strikes, the friend replied. There are many matches in which fighters lost because they did not know the flame. These techniques require a good base. First, let's learn how to grab, said Young Hwan. First, with your left hand. Grab your opponent firmly by the neck. He will most likely do the same. Your friend asked correctly. Then you pull your opponent's left hand with your right hand to create the correct angle. This is the flame grip. It takes the right angle to hit your opponent with your elbow at close range. You see, the fingers are free in this position. The one who takes it first will win this fight, showed the essence of the technique of Chong Hwan. Just like now, he suddenly grabbed the neck of his impudent friend and pulled him towards himself and down. This is training, Hui. So was indignant. Stop grumbling. How are you going to get out? He asked when he closed the lock on the back of his head. I'll just grab your arms and throw you off, said the daring fighter. But what if he hits you with his knee from below? Young Hwan began to work on it. He can't go back. They hold him tightly and only press harder. But if he tries to go to the legs, his head will be too close to his knee. Try to get out. Young Hwan easily dragged the guy from side to side. He completely controlled him. In the first half of the capture, you can still quickly shake off the enemy. If you have the strength and a quick reaction, he pushed away the impudent friend. There is nothing more terrible than getting caught in a flame when you are already pretty exhausted. Now he will show you how to get out, his faithful comrade taught him. He ordered Huiso to grab him, and he locked the padlock around his friend's neck. He pressed his shoulder hard on his wrist, as if hiding his head in a shell. With a loud cry, his friend freed himself from the grip, easily throwing off Huiso's hands. That's cool, the comrade said smugly. Stop fooling around, there's still a lot of work to do, the cheeky guy replied. This is part of the teaching of the great guru. Praise quickly, he kept joking. But looking at his serious friend, he continued. You need to take the correct stance if you are taken into flame, and tense your neck and back. If the opponent is the same height, then when he moves his back, his arms will straighten, and the strength will leave them. He will no longer be able to control the grip. Then rotate your torso, use your shoulders as leverage, and break free from the grip, the friend explained. But if the hold is already complete, the strength of the neck is not enough to break free. You can try to knock him down while he hits with his knee. He asked Huiso to use a full flame hold on him, and he clasped his hands around his neck. If you get stuck in a flame, you can slip your hand between your opponent's hands, he demonstrated. When the capture is complete, there is very little space, and the enemy, Knowing what can be done will actively interfere with this. But if you turn your shoulders and make your opponent look inside, young Juan made the move. No matter how little distance there is between the hands, you can slip out. In this case, the hand slides inside the grip, he hooks his right hand onto Huiso's hand, and turning the body again, he easily tore apart the strong lock that it held. It is difficult to see the free space to get out, but the situation can quickly change into different outcomes. That was not bad. Huiso praised his friend, more praise to the god of praise, he rejoiced. Who would have thought that such an unreliable slob would be useful? Continued the impudent guy. Come here, answered the friend. Since he used to wrestle, he should have good balance. He needs to learn this hold, and there will be no problems, summed up Jung Hwan. That's all for today. Time to shed, Jung Hwan whispered quietly. We so finished training, you can grab him. He waved his hand to his friend. Strength coach Taeyong happily walked onto the stage, finally fresh blood. The training maniac was blooming. For what, everything in Huiso's chest went cold, but it was too late to run. Why is he here, the traitor? He asked Jung Hwan, and he justified himself by saying that the muscles of the neck and back are important for flame, and Taeyong is the best fit. That's how... Doesn't he know what kind of person this is? Huisung shook his friend desperately. And what kind of a man is he? A huge brute crept up from behind. Hiccup! The impudent guy cried out. So what kind of person is he, dear Kim Huiso? The gorilla asked the guy. The best in the world, my favorite coach, Hui. So smiled tensely, letting his friend go. Since the guy appreciated it, let him carry it back now. Are the words about love really a lie? Asked the 120-kilogram fighter, putting his hands on his shoulders. He mounted the daring horse Hui So. Gallop on, faithful horse, he said to the boy. No pain, no gain, Chung Hwan quipped after his comrade. Who said he was staying, Taeyeon asked. He would ride him after. They are so busy and he doesn't want to disturb them, so he goes to train with Hai Bum, but he is busy with the beauty Yu Jin. The gorilla objected. Maybe there's someone else, Jung Hwan mumbled timidly as the athletes exchanged glances. Well, no, I understood their look. The sportsman is a slob. Save me, the hooligans are depriving me of my sight, he screamed and rushed away. But they were in a cage. There was nowhere to run, and he was pressed against the net. The monsters pounced on the poor guy, and the impudent horse carried Taeyeon to victim number 2. A few weeks later, they engaged in some light sparring with grappling. Jung Hwan quickly raised his hand to grab his friend. Huiso saw all the movements and easily defended himself, blocking the attacks. And he was even able to counterattack. But Jung Hwan dove under the swing of his hand. They moved quickly in a stance, attacking and counterattacking at close range. Huiso knocked Jung Hwan's hand away and got even closer. He felt a grip on his neck. His friend became noticeably faster. Pressing his neck lower, Huiso fired his knee into his stomach. Jung Hwan straightened up with the strength of his back to prevent himself from being caught in a full lock. Huiseo slipped his hand inside Jung Hwan's grip and held his neck tightly. The knee dug painfully into the side of his ribs, and Jung Hwan cried out. Jung Hwan slipped his hand between them and pressed it against Huiso's chest. Turning his body, he broke their grip, and the fighters flew in different directions around the ring. Both landed on their feet and quickly regained their balance. Enough, Jung Hwan said suddenly. They had finished sparring. He did a good job. He got the gist of it and praised me pretty quickly, his friend. Rest until the next training. He waved at him, and a tired Huiso fell to the floor. It's lucky that Jung Hwan studied Thai boxing professionally. Without him, he wouldn't have learned it. His strength and endurance increased. The daring guy assessed himself, although usually you can get one thing. One tired cutie suddenly sat down next to him. These days? Hui so, asked the girl, meaning the days before the fight when you need to watch your weight, die. She answered silently. No snacks, fatty foods, fast food, or salt. It was already hard without juicy chicken. She could afford nuts and dark chocolate. In addition, the girl had to drink a lot of water, 6 or even 8 liters a day, which affected her mental state. Fewer calories, more training, and running to the toilet all the time. It's no wonder that the usually prickly girl turned into an irritated hedgehog. And yet he wanted to support her somehow, since the beauty tried so hard. Only 10 days left to endure, he gave the girl his signature smile, 32. Why is it talking to me? The beauty wondered. Let him take better care of himself, she bristled. But how can he not take care of his peer and friend? The impudent guy insisted. Get lost, you're annoying, she replied, but the guy absorbed all the barbs. I really wanted to strangle her. But it was clear that she was having a hard time. Hui so thought when the coach brought Yu Jin some water. The girl stood up sluggishly but obediently. Hui so looked at her small back. Now he treated her like a friend, and it was not easy to watch her suffer. She wants to die now, he thought so hard when he was called out. It's time already, Taeyeon called to him, and a chill ran down the back of the daring athlete. The big guy in front of him did not promise an easy walk. Time for a fun warm-up, that is, a workout before the warm-up. The coach laughed cheerfully. The cheerful inscription on the t-shirt only increased the oppressive feeling. I will kill you, Hui-so read. Mom, give him back. He thought about how many heavy sets they would prescribe today. Time flew by. The team got 5 matches. Younghwan participated in the Central League battle. There were no problems with the other 3 matches either. Yoojin won a tough match in the 3rd round with a choke and became a star in the lightweight division. The slacker friend almost won his match, but missed a counterpunch and was knocked out. Taeyong got so angry that he promised to strangle the negligent fighter. But he took it all as a joke, and he was almost strangled. How bad it is because of the weight control, the cheeky guy whined. Song-hoon sternly told him to be patient, because others have it much harder. This time there was no noise, the cheeky guy noticed. And what did he want more noise? The bushy-browed coach asked, and Huiso shook his head. That was also normal. He was called to the weigh-in, and he ran there briskly. Give me your things, helped the bushy-browed Sun-hoon when he started to fuss. Fighter Lee Hui. So passed, weight 77 and 2 kilograms. Next, Juho Seok called the head judge who was conducting the event, and called again when the fighter did not show up. He was there when they took roll call at the beginning, was surprised by Hui-so, and heard the sounds of the flush tank. Sorry, I went to the toilet. Ju Seok came out of the stall in a dirty suit. Even without makeup, he looked lousy. Where is the escort? The judge asked. The guy looked so bad, like he was about to die he couldn't lose weight, Hui-so thought. He almost fell off his feet, but the referee managed to catch the exhausted, long-haired fighter. Juho Seok weighed in, results announced, 77.5. Shirtless, he looked like a formidable opponent. I'm thirsty, the cheeky guy impatiently urged the trainer, but he kept rummaging through his bag. It seems he forgot the bottle in the car. How many people has he trained and still forgets water? Song-hoon grumbled at him. Are you thirsty, Hui? So heard a muffled voice from behind. Take this, please. The guy with bags under his eyes spoke politely and offered his water, even though he himself was suffering from dehydration. It was embarrassing for what he did. It was hard to lose weight because of work. Jisuk apologized. What kind of job is this? Asked the cheeky guy. A small role as a hooligan in a movie. The long-haired big guy became embarrassed. It's not easy since you also have to work part-time, Sung-hoon said sympathetically. The role is small, but you have to work hard. Ji Seok justified himself. I think I'll go, he said. It's not nice to be too friendly before a fight, said the long-haired fighter. Thanks for the water, Hui. So said goodbye. A good guy, he said. Cho Woo-chung was a real beast, true, the bushy-browed trainer agreed. But don't feel sorry for him for being polite. He'll fight like a dog. Of course, he will give it his all at the match, the cheeky young man answered decisively. On the day of the match, he was chewing on some strange dry vegetables. How he wanted some chicken, the cheeky guy whined. What a sumptuous feast. Chestnut hair tickled the face. The sweet smell of chocolate teased the nostrils. Today is her day off. Hui-so was surprised by the appearance of the girl. She helps Young-hwan with the fight. The beauty explained. Since they even called her, it means that Young-hwan is serious, said Hui-so. Otherwise, Taeyong will fold him in half. The cutie answered, and reached for a slice. It doesn't taste that bad, why whine? The cheeky girl inserted a pin, then come on in. Hui-so suggested. I'll eat until my stomach bursts, he grumbled, mashing the vegetables. Look, the prickly cutie guest pulled out some candy from her pocket and put it in front of him. Snacks of chocolate and red ginseng, eaten an hour before the fight. Improve blood circulation, she explained. But why such concern? Hui-so was surprised. It just remained. The girl turned away embarrassedly. Really, let her also say that they were lying on the floor. The impudent athlete did not believe her. I told you, it just remained. The angry cat hissed. She brought them on purpose. The impudent guy teased and grabbed her in the face with a salad. Get out of here, dog! The girl shouted. She was thinking about how to strangle the impudent guy, but suddenly her cell phone rang. It's time to go down, Jong-hwan. I need help with my things, the girl said quietly. Before she leaves, he told her, if you even think about making jokes, I'll finish you off. The prickly cat immediately warned. Thank you for your concern. The cheeky guy smiled sweetly and sincerely. This is how you should always answer, she muttered quietly in a thin voice. Come on, don't disgrace yourself there in the ring. The girl extended her fist. Of course he would win. Their fists touched as he lightly punched her. The coaches watched the fights from undress. Another fight ended. The time for Huiso's fight was approaching. Another knockout. Are they on doping or something? The bushy-browed trainer frowned. So Huiseo unpacked the candy he received from the cheeky girl. What are you already eating? Taeyong asked him. Ginseng and chocolate, which Yu Jin gave him, told him to eat before the match. The athlete answered. This thorn. The big guy was surprised. How disgusting it is, even chocolate, the impudent fighter grimaced. He was about to take a nap. Taeyong was even more surprised. Mental training, he sprawled on Huiso's chair. Maybe he's crazy because he's not worried at all, the blonde coach noted. The same thing happened in the first match, not worried at all, which only made things more worrying. Song-hoon frowned. It's good that he's not their concern now. They need to think about their fighters. The bushy-browed trainer sighed. The scoundrel decided to sleep, Taeyeon shouted. He was meditating. The impudent fighter justified himself. What kind of snoring meditation is this? The big guy didn't believe him. Blue corner fighter Lee Hui-sung. The stands thundered welcoming. The long-awaited moment had arrived. It is not surprising that he is being greeted so much. Everyone remembers the match that was in September, the commentator said. Isn't his schedule too tight? Another answered. The previous fight was without injuries, and Lee Huiso couldn't miss the final event of the year, which meant X1 expected a lot from him, they discussed. Will he live up to expectations, the host wondered as Huiso prepared to enter the ring. Stay on the edge of the zone, don't be greedy, don't lose control, the bushy-browed trainer instructs before the fight. Okay, I'll remember, promised the daring athlete, anticipating the fight. Go ahead, tear him apart, Huiso finally got into the ring. He warmed up his body as usual, as if before sparring, making light jumps. Jusiok appeared. Now he looked stern and massive. There was no trace of exhaustion. The shaggy giant walked into the cage, the difference in their sizes making itself felt. The referee read them the rules and gave them the go-ahead as the fighters faced each other in the center of the ring. He is huge, although almost the same height. Big muscles will allow him to fight to the point of madness. Huiso analyzed his opponent. Red is ready, blue is ready. The referee gave the command to fight and stepped aside. At the first sound of the gong, Jusiok rushed towards Huiso like a dog on the loose. But this time, the daring guy kept his distance and was in no hurry. It was not to his advantage to enter into an exchange with a large opponent. He met his opponent with a series of long punches and jabs to test his defense and break his tempo. Huiso kicked the ball into his thigh, but Jusiok managed to raise his knee and block the serve. He immediately counterattacked, pressing with all his mass. A powerful blow to the body to the liver found a gap in the daring guy's defense. It hurt. Huiso continued to dodge and study his opponent. He was almost pinned against the fence, but Huiso managed to get out with a deft jump and deliver a short jab to the head. The shaggy big guy maintained a strong defense and was not afraid to get close to his opponent. Well, really, everything doesn't matter, Huiso realized after the blow. This blow won't knock the big guy down. Keep the pace and control the attacks, the bushy-browed coach shouted from below. Jusiok moved like a bull, his fists widened, and he came dangerously close. A powerful right hook to Huiso's guard knocked him aside. He had to stop to regain his balance and immediately took another series of heavy shots on defense. How tough, Sun-hoon assessed their opponent, but they have something to respond with. Huiso was good at defending himself against attacks he couldn't dodge. He deftly dodged blows to the head and was just a hair's breadth away from a heavy knockdown. Jusiok's cannon shot knocked down his crossed block. An explosive uppercut almost took off his chin, but Huiso managed to stop his opponent's movement in time with a kick to the chest. A direct counterpush knocked even a big guy like Jusiok back. The strong mop quickly regained his balance and prepared to repel the next attacks. But his appearance became confused. The enemy was behaving too insolently. He's gone crazy. What is he doing? Coach Huiso was stunned. Why did he lower his defense? Huiso opened up completely. He stretched out like a wild mongoose, making it clear who was currently in control of this field. He's deliberately asking for trouble. The shaggy big guy assessed the situation. Nothing has changed. You need to press until the enemy is exhausted. The main thing is to maintain the rhythm. Juseok went on the attack, and instantly he ran into a straight left to the head, bypassing all defense. Huiso easily stopped his opponent. He attacks quickly. He clearly saw the enemy's next move. The next movement was also quick, and the big guy managed to notice it out of the corner of his eye. The right landed on the side. Juseok didn't have time to raise his defense. That's not all. He saw how Huiso regained his balance and was preparing to attack again. Low kick, prepared to defend from below Juseok and pulled up his leg. No middle kick to the left, he responded as Hui So changed his stance and raised his right leg. Again a trick, the fighter became confused, not knowing what to expect from the enemy. Hui So had completely confused him. He was superior to the big guy in speed, and now he was also using tricks. Everything has changed. He is forced to constantly watch Hui So's legs to understand when to expect a blow. Without noticing it, the big guy had his back against the net and was being driven into a corner. They completely changed roles. Now Ju Seok was the hunted victim, looking for a way to get out. Contemptuous exclamations were heard from the audience about why he was standing there and swearing. Although he had never been hit before, the audience did not understand his situation. Ju Seok gritted his teeth, no matter how difficult it was. He decided to break through. A side middle kick landed right under Ju Seok's elbow into his body, and while he was thinking, Hui So attacked. But the big guy stayed on his feet even after he was kicked. Hui So took a step and raised his knee again as if for a kick. But instead of the lower one, he struck the upper one, right in the big guy's face, almost taking his head off. Strong neck muscles held his head in place, but the blow stunned Ju Seok. He was pinned against the net and bombarded with a hail of blows from all positions. The shaggy big guy again tried to break through, but this time to the side. The crazy and daring guy chased him with a crab as if inviting him to join him. These stupid tricks again. Ju Seok was nervous. He got it hard. He attacked straight and was met with a clean counter right straight, Hui So ruined his rhythm of attack. It's hard to analyze when the opponent does feints and tricks. All sense of distance is completely lost. The eyebrow stick grinned. Hui So methodically broke down the enemy's defense, crushing him with a heavy bombardment. He had to hold out until the last blow, Ju Seok realized. He would definitely run out of breath soon and stop. Now he caught the moment when Hui So swung for a strong blow. If we counterattack now, as he's closing in, the battle will turn around again. But the daring opponent dodged the counter blow and came dangerously close. The bastard read his intentions, the shaggy big guy belatedly realized. A sharp knee stung him in the side along his floating ribs, and Ju Seok winced in pain. The pain from the damage paralyzed him. He couldn't move. With the last of his strength, he raised his hands in a deep defense. He needed to drag out time until the end of the round. The impudent mongoose drove his knee straight into the stomach at full speed. Another monstrous blow. Even the strong body of the big guy could not withstand it. Excellent. The bushy-browed coach rejoiced. Keep it up, he shouted. Ju Seok was hunched over and backing away like a crab, and Hui So was waiting for him to stick his head out. Now that the enemy was immobilized, the daring fighter could stroll towards his target. The shaggy, strong man found himself at the net again. So much pressure was put on him by his daring opponent. Hui So cracked his eyes open with sharp, small movements of his legs. He provoked the enemy by standing in front of him, within striking distance, completely open. He's probably thinking about how much strength and stamina he still has left. Hui So noted. Don't worry so much. The fun time is over for him. Now it's time to play Hui So. He bared his teeth predatorily. There goes the shaggy big guy, completely confused. He was already completely broken and didn't know what to do. Punch after punch came and he took several jabs to the head. Unable to counterattack, he absorbed all of Hui So's blows. It was only by a miracle that he held on against the barrage of precise attacks, each one stronger than the previous ones. You can't give up like that. The fighter held on with all his might. Seizing the moment, he ducked under the blow and went to Hui So's legs, grabbing him. But he didn't lose his composure. His heel deftly hooked the opponent's supporting leg. Turning his body, with a light movement of his hand, Hui So threw off the heavy giant. Ju Seok regained his balance and made another attempt to take the fight to the ground. What? He managed to notice the quick movements of Hui So's hands. There you go, little bastard, exclaimed the bushy-browed trainer, recognizing the familiar move. Hui So used a plum on Ju Seok, a Thai boxing move he and his friend had practiced. He clasped his hands behind the healthy opponent's head and he couldn't get away. Gathering his entire body like a spring, Hui So drove his knee into the victim's body. The fight turned into a one-sided beating. The damage that had accumulated over the entire round now spread as pain throughout Ju Seok's body. Hui So landed on his feet and continued to break his opponent with his knee. Get out, was all Ju Seok's useless coach could advise. The big guy pulled himself together and punched Hui So in the jaw, but because of his position, the blow couldn't be strong, and he calls it a punch. Hui So didn't even notice the jab. What a blow. He pulled Ju Seok's neck to the ground and nailed him in the head with his knee. The big guy held the block tightly, like a turtle hiding in its shell. No matter how tough he was, it was becoming too dangerous, the hosts commented. Hui So's legs swung back like a powerful pendulum. This time, the cannon's shot pierced the remains of Joe Seok's defense, exploding his head. The big guy slowly sank into the ring. Huiso did not let go and went forward. When the tuft fell, he pounced on top and methodically pounded his fists on the head. The caring, bushy-browed trainer suggested, "Press on the neck." With his hand firmly planted on Ju Seok's neck, the daring boy was able to deliver powerful blows. "Grab him and throw him to the ground!" the big guy's useless trainer shouted. Ju Seok was shaking from the pain and blows, but even more from his helplessness. Gritting his teeth and overcoming himself, he was able to rise and grab the impudent guy. But the mongoose Hui Seok was ready for this. Pulling his legs back, he easily broke the grip. The desperate steps were met with retribution, as Jo Seok's neck ended up in Huiso's elbow grip. In one movement, he closed the chokehold, placing his hand on top of his own. "This technique," the commentator shouted, recognizing the popular technique. After escaping the hold, Li Huiso performed a guillotine from above. The situation became hopeless for the big guy. He could neither break the hold nor throw his opponent off. He was quickly running out of oxygen in his blood and time to think. Huiso pressed harder, squeezing the thick neck of his healthy opponent. The referee elbowed him in the gut and pulled him away from Ju Seok. He ordered stop. "The fight is over. Victory via choke." Huiso catches his breath after a tough fight. The commentators were delighted, along with the spectators, as the fight that began so uncertainly ended in a rout and strangulation. In 4 minutes and 18 seconds, Huiso takes his second win in the first round, the cocky guy throwing his hands up in victory. The little fool did a great job, and during the hugs, the big guy Tian ran to the winner. "What a guy, he only recently learned the holds," the blonde guy said. "And he really is amazing," Song-hoon agreed. "He acts calmly, but he himself is so excited that he can barely contain himself," the blonde noted. "It's good that at least someone else gets this excited during a fight," he thought. Today, he relived the forgotten feelings from his first MMA fights. "Great job. Today, the winner can do anything." "Okay, I'll sing now," said a joyful Huiso, sitting astride Taeyeon. "Son, enjoy your evening," his mother called him, and he went out to answer while others celebrated his victory. "What's wrong with Mom's voice? Did she really drink?" asked the worried son. "Just 1 glass," said the adult woman. "Just don't get drunk. You're not good with alcohol." Huiso was worried, but his mother said that she drank at home. "I'm so sorry," the loving mother repented. "Don't worry," her caring son reassured her. She didn't support him when he first started. The woman was upset, but he's stubborn. The loving son objected. She felt like she was making him fight for money. He had been through so much and couldn't even eat properly. His mother almost cried. She's probably a bad mother, a completely disintegrating drunk woman. Luckily, he heard his father's voice. "Completely drunk," the old man grumbled. "She's completely wasted. Don't worry. He'll take care of her. The son can rest," said the father. "Calm her down," the caring son asked, and the father promised to cope. He performed well, and his dad told him the most important words in the life of any child. He still has to work and work so that his mother doesn't worry anymore. The guy breathed a sigh of relief. "With this team, he will definitely succeed," he smiled. A recording of a fight where Huiso sang like a herd of bison was playing throughout the restaurant. Here comes the hero of the occasion. The coaches are shouting at him. The drinking is in full swing. He should take a couple of vocal lessons. What a terrible singing. It was as if he had no ear for music. How embarrassed he was in front of the audience. His teammates teased the winner. They met each other's eyes for a second, and he remembered the dark chocolate and the silky hair on his cheek. Thorn made a face, covering her face with her hand. What a cheeky girl, thought Huiso. She will also laugh at him. The last thread of patience snapped in him. Now he will arrange a merry drinking party for them. The hall burst into loud screams. A few weeks later, Taeyong was yelling madly at his protege. "Hopeless, he is hopeless." He pounced on Young Hwan. He told him not to rush. The coach was indignant. The other coaches could barely restrain the brute. "Well done, Jung Hwan. Don't be sad," the other trainer told him and led the mad bull away. "Everything is wrong," the exhausted fighter exhaled heavily. "Refresh yourself." The cold can of soda felt pleasant on the bruised cheek. "Oh, thank you," said Young Hwan. "Don't worry about it," Huiso reassured him. Sorry, he didn't live up to expectations. He helped him so much. The fighter reproached himself. At least he didn't lose. Consoled Huiso. In the first round, everything went well for him. He started with a straight one, which won the sympathy of the audience. Taeyong shouted at him to press slower and watch his opponent better. But the slob got too overheated and pounded the deep defense like a wind-up toy, ignoring all advice. As soon as he got tired, he opened his chin, following his bad habit. And, in the end, what was supposed to happen happened. Both fighters exchanged blows simultaneously in the center of the ring, and both of them fell into a deep knockout, which amused the spectators' stands, but since Young Hwan won again, he won't become a pro anytime soon. You won't scold me. The annoyed friend was surprised. He was going to. Huiso admitted honestly, but his comrade had already heard enough. He is definitely a good fighter, but he is too reserved in the ring, under the eyes of the cameras and spectators, and it is very difficult for him now. You'll win next time, I'm sure, said the cheeky friend. Will he? A shadow of doubt fell on the face of the usually carefree guy. Huiso, he turned to his friend after a heavy silence. He had already thought about it, and his friend began a difficult conversation. The guys went ahead and called them, interrupting the serious conversation. Now let's go, young Hwan perked up. He decided that now was not the best time for such conversations. Forget it. He smiled with his broken mouth at his best friend. Let's go before Taeyong loses his temper again, okay? Huiso resigned himself. He said nothing, only watched his depressed friend go. And at that moment, his back seemed small. Great news for our gym. Young Kun signed a contract with SFC, told great news, eyebrow coach. The audience loudly congratulated the athlete. Everyone was happy and suggested celebrating. The world is so fickle, muttered Huiso. And what's wrong, grumbled the thorn nearby. Yesterday, Young Hwan lost the opportunity to debut. And today, Young Kun received a contract with SFC. The guy was at a loss to decide whether to rejoice or cry. It didn't matter that Young Hwan was already hanging on Young Kun's arms, the girl noticed. Another announcement in mid-June, there will be a match and they need a person for the coaching team, announced Sung Hoon. The eyes of the experienced coaches lit up. An away match was a great opportunity to travel, who everyone immediately rushed to him like cats to sour cream. The blonde guy wanted it so much that he even pushed the massive Taeyeon aside. Me, he asked me to. But it's not so easy to push aside a giant. He himself could push aside anyone, and he proposed his candidacy. Why are they silent? Asked the eyebrow-bearing extras. Do they even have a chance? Whined the other team members. Part of the crew, part of the ship, said Song-hoon. Everyone has a chance. Wonderful. The athletes blossomed with rays of hope. Those who debuted as pros and had a match coming up were excluded, Sung-hoon said sternly, and the gang immediately faded away. This is the order from the authorities. Huiso was filled with enthusiasm. Even the thorn on the right wagged its tail. But then who should go? Everyone asked a logical question, and Sun-hoon thought about it. Let's draw lots. He took out a board to draw stripes for the game. Great. Go out one by one and choose a number. Everything is mixed up so that no one guesses. When he finished, he immediately warned everyone that no matter who won, there should be no hard feelings. And the team agreed. Huiso will be the first one, the bushy-browed coach said, and everyone visibly tensed up. Lucky, so lucky, the lucky bastard rejoiced, not noticing the upset looks around him. Luck is not a crime, the impudent guy weakly justified himself. Well, congratulations, said the bushy-browed coach, and the guy smiled modestly. Just in case, does he have a certificate? Asked Song-hoon. What kind of certificate? The guy was surprised. White with a seal, answered the eyebrow. To be a second coach in SFC, you need a sports license with a state seal. Is there really none? The bushy-browed coach asked, and Huiso tensed up. He answered, None. It's a pity that he can't get through. Song-hoon responded mockingly to the lucky, impudent fellow. This can't be. The impudent guy was horrified. Maybe next time the coach consoled the defeated impudent man, to the general jubilation of the crowd. Let's just play one more time. He reached for the marker. It's not over yet. It's too early to give up. The daring fighter has risen to his feet. He can get a license before the match starts. There is still time, the impudent guy declared decisively. Do you want to qualify now? Sung-hoon asked doubtfully. The match is already in June. When will he have time? But the cheeky guy has already poked the phone screen. That's what he said. He showed the advert for the second-level test for a sports trainer. The test was in May. The results were in a week. This is more than enough before the match. The daring guy did not lose his enthusiasm. Sung-hoon wanted to explain the details, but Taeyong interrupted him. How could they sit and wait to see if he passed the test or not? Reasonable things. Huiso had nothing to say in response to this. The lonely thorn stocked up on popcorn and watched the battle from the sidelines. If he gets a license, he will go to the match. If not, he will treat the entire team to a banquet worth 300,000. He put forward the conditions. The sum is round, thought Huiso. He earned it for winning the last match, the gym fan insisted. Mere trifles for him. All you need to do is get qualified, thought the cheeky guy. They are waiting so tensely. Something is clearly fishy here, the athlete doubted. And Sung-hoon looked unhappy. Taeyong reassured the coach that everything would be fine, and the daring fighter pondered over his decision. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work out, he'll just pay. But the daring guy wasn't going to miss such an opportunity. Shake on it, he agreed, and Taeyong accepted the bet. Don't back out later, he said sternly. This concerns him too, Hui. So answered him. Freebie, let's decide what we'll drink and eat, the other coaches agreed, as if they had already written off Hui so. But he's trying so hard, guys. What do you think needs to be done first? Taeyeon said sternly. We need to decide who will go instead of him. He ended with another farce. Hui So snored peacefully over his textbooks, which he hadn't sat down to since school. His caring parents watched and tried not to disturb him. The old unshaven master returned to the hall after a long bender. Boss! The bushy-browed trainer greeted him as he came around the corner. What did not expect to see the boss at work? Asked the unshaven master. Here are the snacks. He gave a bag, all because the master worked outside the hall, said Song-hoon. There is so much here, the brow-bearer was surprised. The master had already eaten, he asked him, and he answered that he had eaten before coming. They cleaned the hall well, it was so clean the old master was surprised. Song-hoon probably made everyone scrub everything. He can be left in charge of the hall since he is so meticulous, the unshaven master thought, looking at his colleague. Who do we have here? The unshaven master wondered, looking into the restroom. Huiseo is preparing for the test to become a trainer, Sang-guk learned from the eyebrowed man. He said that he can't concentrate at home. What kind of test is this? Asked the unshaven master, the second level of the trainer. Song-hoon shared the details. He won the position of Young-kun's second coach, but he doesn't have any qualifications to be admitted, so he's puffing and puffing, said the thick-browed man. Why didn't you dissuade him? The old master grumbled, as if it would be easy to do with this stubborn blockhead. But the unshaven master wanted to object, but Song-hoon raised his hands. Everything had gone too far anyway. It was too late to dissuade him. Why is everything so ugly when I just step away for a moment? The lazy master grumbled regretfully. He has a rating match in May, Sang-guk said. Great news. The thick-browed man rejoiced. A lightweight match, the lazy master clarified. But why suddenly Sun-hoon was surprised? His body is not very inclined to gain muscle mass, his opponents are bigger than him, and it will only get more difficult. He needs to fight in his own category. He is not so experienced in losing weight. And if he still worries about preparing for the test, he might not cope. The unshaven master worried. Let's listen to what he has to say first, the grumpy coach decided. I can handle it, the daring fighter declared without a shadow of a doubt. He understands exactly what is happening, he grumbled. The master, of course, the athlete answered confidently. You will need to lose a lot of weight. I'll need to lose 10 kilograms from my current weight, plus a diet, and then study. Then it will be very hard, the old master insisted. We can just start, and then we'll see, the guy said confidently. He promised to make sure that nothing interfered with his training. Everything will work out. He is Li Hui. So, the impudent guy proudly poked himself in the chest. Is this enough to take his word for it? The master grumbled. What else is left? You just have to try. The young and daring one dug his heels in. Okay, said the grumpy master after a moment of thought. Let him do as he pleases. Hui So heard the old master's approval with joy. But there is a condition. The grumpy trainer shook his finger sternly, that the guy should not even think about refusing. There should be no overlap, training, sleep, food, study. You can't get up early and go to bed late for the sake of study, the master said sternly. They will prepare for the match together, the unshaven master suddenly declared. He is always on a bender. The impudent fighter was surprised. This time the enemy is serious. You need to know how to fight him, so he will help, said old man Huiso. Of course, all matches are important, the old master continued to grumble. But this case is special, win or lose. How he behaves during the match will affect his career, that's clear, he asked the guy. He responded promptly and energetically, always ready. This match is the most important. If you do everything haphazardly, you can lose everything for which you worked so long and hard. He pointed his finger at the boy. Okay, I'll remember this, the guy mumbled. What a weak answer, the old master grumbled at him. If you doubt, don't take it on, he pressed. I'm ready to put my life on the line, the impudent guy shouted loudly throughout the room. Excellent, that's better, the unshaven master grumbled contentedly. Here is your opponent's data. He handed several sheets to Huiso. What kind of stupid name is he? I couldn't read it, cheeky guy. Mitsubishi Suzuki, this is your first time fighting a foreigner, the old master laughed. Don't let the Korean auto industry down. As the store, Mitsubishi, greeted the bespectacled, bearded salesman. Yes, the stooped Japanese man rubbed his glasses. He was acting deliberately modest. The bearded fat man scratched his belly. Everything is okay, he asked his employee, and he quietly answered that everything is fine. The buyer forgot to take the change. The bespectacled man mumbled. The beard said nothing. Consider that he earned a few kopecks. The bespectacled man began to lament that if a person would not be able to ride the metro if he did not have enough of these kopecks. How can a man be so timid? That's why he doesn't get along with anyone. The fat man patted him on the shoulder. In any case, you did a good job for 2, the shift is over, you can go home. The bearded man, the fussy employee, let go. After changing his clothes, Suzuki went outside, gaped like a klutz, and ran into a passerby. Sorry. The bespectacled Japanese man apologized overly modestly. Mitsubishi slowly made his way to his hall. The closer he got, the more intensely the fire flared up in him. As soon as he crossed the threshold, another person appeared, replacing the timid and cowardly one. He looked closely at everyone present in the room, which made them catch their breath. The athletes quickly stepped aside, making way for the unsociable fighter. Mitsubishi took off his glasses like a restraining seal and carefully placed them on the shelf. The long-eared maniac killer changed into a sports uniform. Suzuki walked up to the bag, warming up. He loved hitting the punching bag the most. Again, this crazy guy made other athletes tense up, thinking about changing the gym. The sounds of heavy blows echoed throughout the hall, the bag swinging like a toy. The blows were a dry bang, as if a heavyweight was hitting. The bespectacled man could not be called a weakling. The valley maniac broke into a creepy grin, imagining how he was beating living flesh. Meat, more meat. The blood boiled in his veins when someone called him Mitsubishi. He told me to come to the office when I arrived. The mustachioed trainer yelled at him that he came because of the sound of blows. You're raping the pair again. His master waved his papers. Crazy, he thought. Stop apologizing, it's no use anyway, he shouted at the negligent fighter. The match was in March. He gave him papers with an offer from the association. Li Hui So, the maniac read the name on the papers. Here is fresh meat. The inner voice whispered. Meat. Let's have a feast, a bloody feast, a real bathhouse. Tear everyone apart, whispered the voices of the madman. Li Hui Seo rubbed the back of his head, someone remembers, he thought, as he puzzled over the exam questions. What kind of stupid questions are these? He gave up. His mother told him to study at school, son, but no, he didn't listen. Now he suffered. The fighter was grieving. Stop pretending you have a brain, his thin voice pricked him. Why is he sitting here, wearing out his pants and not in the restroom? Asked him the gorgeous and sweet sportswoman he thinks better here, he answered. Close the door before you leave, she said in an indifferent tone and was about to leave, but the guy suddenly stopped her. Do you know what is written here? He asked her, not understanding why, but he didn't want her to leave so quickly. And what was there? She leaned closer. The spicy smell of cherries and chocolate teased her nostrils. That stupid question he showed in the book. And this one here's just something to cram. The girl gave her verdict anyway. He's too stupid to understand. And this one too. She read his list. At some point he stopped listening to her and just looked at her lips. No wonder she's been nicknamed the MMA goddess. Long brown hair that smells like lavender shampoo. Beautiful jasper eyes shine brightly and attractively in the sunlight. Velvet skin, elastic and toned, glowing with health due to the fact that she plays sports. The scent of perfume quickly intoxicated. What are you staring at? She caught his intense gaze. Nothing special. She just smells delicious, the guy blurted out without thinking. Oh, he realized that he had fallen into a trap, and now he didn't know which paw he needed to bite off to get out. The smell is nice. I like your perfume, he tried to explain, but it only got worse. I just got out of the shower, she said in a gentle and embarrassed voice, thoughtfully twirling her silky hair around her finger. That's right. That's the whole point. He smiled like a complete fool. If there are no more questions, then I'll go. The girl stood up calmly. It's good that she didn't get angry. He took a breath. And what kind of voice was that? He looked after the beauty with the narrow waist. She was leaving again, Eugene, he decided to call the girl. He was also going to go. Didn't she want to go with him? Then he awkwardly scratched the back of his head and tried to speak calmly. This completely broke their usual pattern of communication, so the girl even froze. He was also silent. Silence is a sign of consent, but he didn't know it, so he thought he had just been brushed off. That's right. Song-hoon gave him a bunch of tasks, so it won't work whether he was saving his reputation or digging deeper, depending on how you look at it. For a long time, she suddenly asked softly, as if nothing unusual was happening. How long will he help Song-hoon? The dumb girl almost added at the end, embarrassed, and again twirled her silky hair around her finger. Yes, perhaps the guy who had just lost the last bits of his mind was terribly slow. And what? He asked. I just asked, the beauty answered, slightly disappointed. She left, the girl said, and he absurdly wished her good luck and to take care of herself. What was that now? The blockhead completely lost his former audacity. Yes or no, that is the question. If yes, then yes. And if no, then no. Thoughts swarmed like bees in the young head. The bell quickly brought him back to his senses when it rang at full volume. This is an old master. He read the message with the video of his opponent. But what did he hope for? The heated guy asked himself. What's wrong with this patient? The cheeky guy experienced a bout of vomiting. Huiso was deep in thought, but it wasn't his crazy opponent that worried him. Did that cheeky thorn notice what he was trying to do? They had grown distant again lately. He thought about the girl. What was I thinking about? An unshaven master, the boss, appeared, and the guy immediately said hello. He's not overexerting himself, the old coach grumbled. And everything is on schedule, Huiso confirmed. Excellent. The master praised his efforts and asked if he had seen the Mitsubishi fight. The daring guy, completely out of his mind, gave this assessment of his opponent. He appears to be a talented boxer, with furious attacks that stun his opponents and bring him closer to victory. But there is one problem. He has absolutely no breaks. Even when the fight is already over and the referee stops him, he tries to finish off his opponent. At the weigh-in, he looks shy. Doesn't even look his opponents in the eye. And when he beats them, he looks like a real maniac. That red-headed guy is just a naughty child compared to this crazy guy. 10-win streak, only 1 loss. History in X1 starts with 6 wins. He's a pretty successful fighter, fast, defends well. Considering this, the guy needs to box. But he is definitely worse at this. An unpleasant opponent, because their styles are very similar. And he began to notice details better. His studies helped. He already knows how to fight, the old master noted. But Huiso threw up his hands. He hadn't learned this yet. I saw that match, his coach asked. I saw it, the impudent guy answered incomprehensibly. The match ended in a technical knockout. The victory over Mitsubishi would be based on this match, the unshaven master told him sternly. Objectively speaking, Choi Do-hee is weaker and slower than John Siley, the unshaven master explained. Despite this, Choi's strikes were preemptive, and even if they struck at the same time, Silly was hit harder. Why? The master asked. It doesn't matter. It was a waste of time asking. The coach grumbled when the guy let out a long, "Hey!" Correct timing and high precision of strikes, the unshaven master continued to grumble. Choi Do punched a little faster, although his punching speed was slower, and this disrupted John's pace, although his punching speed was faster. Even though they were punching at the same time, Choi knew his opponent's movements well and turned his body faster, thus outpunching him. The same goes for the accuracy of the blows. He didn't hit just anywhere, but at painful and vulnerable spots. If you do the same, the opponent's strength no longer plays a role. Now they will practice these 2 things during training, but is it possible to do it in 2 months? The impudent guy wondered. In most cases, it's impossible, but the guy might succeed. The unshaven master grumbled contentedly. Isn't there too much faith in him? The fighter suddenly began to doubt. Everything is fine. He won the matches with his talent, and now he needs to learn to use it. That was all. The old master stood up to continue loafing around somewhere. Get to work, he said sternly to the cheeky boy who also wanted to relax. Huiso quickly felt like a cabin boy on deck. Working on the ropes instantly filled his hands with fatigue. At first, the old master told him to pump up before training his skills, and the satisfied Taeyong happily accepted the fresh meat. He also trained according to the Barbara program, 15 pull-ups with a weight of 10 kilograms, 30 push-ups with a 10-weight pancake on your back, 40 times on the press, also with a pancake. The stomach almost bursts in 2 from this. 50 times a weighted stand, always with the same damn pancake. 70 movements with ropes and rubber bands for resistance. All of this was considered one approach, which had to be completed as quickly as possible, with 2 minutes of rest between approaches, for a total of 5 circles. With each circle of hell, the body slowed down and the rest time increased until the murderer Taeyeon shouted, "Stop." "But open the air intake! Breathe through your nose!" the training maniac demanded discontentedly. "But whatever you do for the sake of victory, after it he will definitely strangle him. the daring fighter promised himself. Look, my arms are already falling off, complained Huiso. And it really is shaking, said Taeyong in a sympathetic voice. How much longer do I have to do this? The guy groaned. The boss said to squeeze him dry 3 times a week. The exercise fan scratched his beard. The daring fighter was horrified 3 times. You also think it's not enough. Taeyong approved of such initiative. He recently learned from overwork that you can even lose muscles when you study, Huiso said. But Taeyong promised to take care of it. But from such care, for some reason, the load only became greater. Finished, asked them the old master from afar. They squeezed me out like a sheet. Not a drop was left, the exercise maniac reported. Good job, the master grumbled. Great job on the warm-up, now the real training begins, said the old slacker. First exercises with a punching bag. He told Young Hwan to show how it's done. Young Hwan lightly hit the punching bag and it bounced back with a spring, always returning after the blow. To avoid being hit by the punching bag, Young Hwan moved his head to the side. He moved deftly from left to right and delivered precise blows to the punching bag. This training comes from boxing. It works on the accuracy and timing of punches. If he can work as well as Young Hwan, he will become stronger. The cheeky guy immediately decided to try and lightly hit the pear. But on the return, he hit not the center, but the edge of the pear, and it bounced to the side diagonally. It's hard, isn't it? The master grumbled. All because he sees her as a stationary target, and the guy doesn't have the right balance. He needs to learn control. The next stage of tap ball, an ideal exercise for improving accuracy and the dynamics of visual sharpness and counter punches, was demonstrated by Young Hwan. The ball was tied to the head, and after the hit, it kept flying towards the face. If Young Hwan moved, the ball would also fly at strange angles. He quickly kicked the ball so that it flew towards the cheeky guy enough to scare him. It's scary, said Huiso, because small and fast, it's just a sponge, grumbled the unshaven master. Oh, quite good, the daring athlete also decided to try, but praised himself prematurely. He immediately began to fool around as if he had received a new toy. What a blockhead, thought the old master. It's amazing that the pros use such a size, Young Hwan admired. Looking at his daring friend, he really is a genius. Right now, forehead, the old coach suddenly shouted, which confused the guy. But Huiso still didn't lose his coordination and accurately directed the ball. On one of the bounces, the ball was flying too fast when Huiso got going. So he dodged at the last second, and the sponge hit Taeyong's face. Oh, the cheeky guy thought. It seems like someone still has some strength left. The coach grinned menacingly. Now stand still, the training immediately turned into a farce. Like children, the unshaven master grumbled to himself. The ball not only moves quickly, but also flies in a curve. But the sharp-eyed guy recognized it and managed to dodge it, he noticed. Now he confirmed his guesses. The guy has special eyes. All that remains is to open them, the old master grumbled contentedly. But when this training turned into this circus with horses, the unshaven master frowned with displeasure. Due to fatigue, he came home by bus and had no strength left to walk. How it breaks. The guy trudged along sluggishly, stretching the stiff and wooden muscles of his neck. He's still not used to the punching bag, maybe only singles because of its strange trajectory. But if he had done it in one day, it would not have been interesting. There were still 2 months ahead, the guy thought when he saw a familiar silhouette. Mom! He called out to the cheerfully tired but beautiful woman. What is she doing here so late? The caring son worried. She just met with friends, she quickly answered. Okay, the guy thought, but sniffed suspiciously. It seems like someone was eating barbecue, he said cheerfully, not understanding what was really going on. Apparently the smell had soaked into his clothes. The mother was confused. Why was he returning so late? Asked his loving mother. He has a match soon. A lot of training, the son answered contentedly. The match was so soon she took his arm. Didn't he want to pass the exam for a trainer's certificate first? Both, the son answered confidently. It won't work that way. You won't be able to rest normally when the match is just around the corner. The loving mother grumbled. It doesn't matter. He'll do it his way anyway. At first she couldn't talk about it at all, but it seems she changed her mind. He looked at the tired woman. Everything will be fine, Mom. Who cares about him? Let them beat him there. The mother grumbled. Oh, hen. They passed by the street food, maybe take one, said the cheeky son, for he soon had a mass that reminded him of his mother. There is no need to lose weight anymore. You can take one at a time. He ran briskly to the counter. He already has a healthy forehead, but he's such a fool she looked after him. It looks like I should buy some perfume, she thought, sniffing her clothes. Everyone was given sheets of paper. The examiner's voice was heard, then proceed. Huiso began the test. He came back, he told Taeyong. When he arrived, he felt even more exhausted than after training with him. I failed it well, he asked mockingly. It will be clear in a week. The athlete scratched his head. Okay. Let's focus on training. The strength training fan was looking forward to winning the bet. Huiso showed excellent skills. The bag was now much easier to handle. How are you? The lazy master has returned from lunch. Taeyong noted well. But too sensitive and sluggish, he said. Nothing can be done about it. Since he is at this stage, the old master grumbled. There are two most difficult stages in weight control. The first is dehydration. With the loss of water, a person becomes weaker, no matter how strong he was earlier. The strength will return later, but now he needs to strengthen his muscles properly, and this is exactly the stage he is at. You can't take creatine, it retains water in the body. You need to maintain a diet, and the loads only become greater. But how he tries, Taeyong admired. It must be a pleasure to teach him, the old master grumbled contentedly. He keeps his word and gets stronger with each training session and listens much better than expected, the master said. He is still young. We need to keep an eye on him so that he doesn't have a nervous breakdown. The old master strictly punished. Taeyong happily ran to the exhausted fighter. Everything will be fine, he said, although he himself was the main cause of stress, the master thought. Dead. He's definitely dead already, Huiso, sprawled on the floor 5 days before the match. Give me some salt, his inner beast growled. Now he hated everyone who ate tasty food. Even though they had cut back on the workouts, he was still training with the bands, and his hands were shaking like a long-time alcoholic's. You can't count how many trips to the toilet he made. His urine is cleaner than alpine mines. He checked himself into a medical center to make sure he was okay. Taeyong knew how to keep his body in shape, but the training was still exhausting. Soft footsteps were heard nearby, and Huiso looked up tiredly. Cooling off, inserted a hairpin, a cheeky thorn. Look who's talking, he answered rudely, to the sweet girl who was worried about him. He was really angry, Yujin thought, but she understood his state perfectly well. She waited a minute for him to realize what nonsense he had said. Phew, that's true, the guy muttered with dry lips. Now they had changed places, and he himself felt what it was like to lose weight intensively. Here she threw a bone, a small bundle, onto the ground like to a mad dog. It will help to satisfy hunger for a while, said the thorn as he unwrapped the bundle of nuts. The small nuts, and even carefully peeled ones, were appreciated by the daring guy as a gift. Since she still hadn't gone home, she was sitting in the break room and chatting, he imagined. Give it back if you don't want it, the thorn said sharply as always, but the guy quickly swallowed the entire contents. I don't feel anything, my hungry and exhausted body rebelled. But thanks for your concern. He managed to smile with lips chapped from dehydration. Nothing special. The girl waved it off. She gave away the rest as usual. The cheeky guy grinned weakly. Oh, she felt embarrassed. What a blockhead. The girl became embarrassed and blushed slightly. It doesn't matter, she replied sharply and turned to run. Let's have dinner after the match, he suggested after her. And what else? The thorn muttered and quickly retreated. It's so cute to be angry. The simple-minded guy laughed, not understanding the reasons at all. It's hard to even laugh. It's time to go home. He slowly rose to his feet. Who could be calling at such a time? He felt a vibration in his pocket. Yes, Dad. He picked up the phone with anxiety. His father didn't call without a good reason. What happened? He asked after they exchanged greetings. Where is he now? Everything inside him went cold and shrank. In intensive care, Huiso heard. He rushed into the hospital, forgetting about fatigue and exhaustion. He was so worried and in a hurry. Patient Lee Kak. Wook, he shouted throughout the emergency room. What are you yelling about? My father's familiar voice called from behind, cheerful as always. Someone might think that he is already dead, grumbled the father. What a disgrace, he said about himself, sitting on the bed bandaged like a Hindu. What happened? That his son showered him with a hail of questions. Be quiet. There are other people here too, his father reassured him. It doesn't matter now. The caring son dismissed all objections. Wait, what kind of clothes are these, he noticed. His father's unusual robe. He left today in a shirt and trousers, Huiso noticed, and suspicions crept into his head. Let's talk somewhere else, my father said heavily. He clearly didn't want to tell, but there was nothing he could do now. They sat down away from people, in a quiet place where they could talk calmly. What happened to the last job? Asked Huiso, the market decided. He knows how it happens. The father smiled. And that's why he went to the construction site, the son realized. There are unpaid debts. You can't be unemployed. the father answered reservedly. In a few years, everything will settle down. Don't worry, he reassured his son, but how could he not worry if they were in the hospital? Another terrible guess crept into his head when he compared the past and the present. Mother also works. Huiso's heart sank. His father admitted correctly in a restaurant. Why didn't they say anything? The loving son was upset. Forgive me, he said to his father. Why all of a sudden, what kind of regrets? The parent was surprised. For so many years they paid for his coaches. All parents do that. He has no talent, and sport is not his thing. He should have left earlier, he muttered. Grandma told him that he needed to leave, but his parents insisted that he continue to study, and now the family is in debt. They believed that once the expenses were recouped, life would become easier, Huiso recalled. But he still failed. I want to become someone my parents can rely on, the guy blurted out. Li Huiso, his father cut off his tirade angrily and sternly. They didn't do this for him to whine now, or maybe he thinks that it would be better if he made a different decision. The father got angry. They didn't follow anyone's lead out of whim. This was their conscious decision, the father answered calmly. No one will blame him regardless of the results, especially since he was a schoolboy before and could not make such decisions. Son, there is nothing special about us. Every person faces their own difficulties. If he puts a strong and warm hand on his shoulder, it's part of life's journey. Lack of money, trauma, and everything that hasn't happened yet. Everyone is healthy, and they have a responsible son. One day, all the financial difficulties will also be solved, the parent confidently declared. Live with pride for your family, he said, and Huiso almost cried, a bitter lump rising in his throat. He raised his hand to his face to brush away involuntary tears. The last thing he needed was to start crying like a little girl. How's your head? He asked, calming down. He thought he wouldn't ask anymore. He answered about his father. Well, they bandaged him. He looked into the phone camera. Mother is probably going crazy, said the guy. Don't worry. Father will soon go on a business trip to the countryside, the parent reassured. Enough about that. He has to study tomorrow. Go home. No one is dying. Put him out on his father. There's nothing to be done anyway. The impudent guy sighed. Where does mother work? He asked. It would be better not to go to her. She would be embarrassed, father warned. I'll watch from afar, since I've already learned about everything, answered the loving son. If you're ready, go now. Your shift will soon be over, his father told him. Huiso managed to catch her at work. What are you thinking about, friend? Don't you want to go home? Her colleague asked the middle-aged but still beautiful woman. The loving son looked out the restaurant window from afar, his heart bleeding, but he could do nothing. Mom is working hard again for his well-being, he reproached himself. He works so hard at work, but at home he doesn't show it at all. The guy was angry with himself. Just wait a little longer, dear mother. He clenched his fists. He was sure to win this match. Deep inside, he was burning with hellfire. The next day, he worked for 10 men, filled with cold rage. The blows exploded in dry pops on the training pause. The trainer could barely keep up with him. A blow, a dodge. Huiso moved like a clockwork toy without losing the sharpness of his movements. He saw the blows that were flying at him and easily dodged them. Bam! There followed a powerful counterattack that almost knocked out the assistant. Why did he get so worked up? The old master noticed the change in his mood. Taeyong shrugged his shoulders, wondering himself. Just yesterday, he was whining and complaining of fatigue. Don't overexert yourself, Huiso. The match is coming soon, the unshaven master shouted to the impudent fighter. It's not clear how this happened, the old master noted with satisfaction. But the guy not only became morally stronger, he also began to move, with minimal effort. He follows Taijun's timings, or rather, even reads them, the old master analyzed. Excellent, he grumbled contentedly. The boy is developing. Bam, the glove on Taijun's hand flew far away from the powerful blow. Show me what this crazy guy can do, the unshaven master grumbled to himself. On the day of weighing, I joyfully raised my hands when the scale stopped at 70.5 kilograms. The stocky Japanese also passed the weigh-in without any problems. Stir down, they took a stance. The Japanese looked shorter but more massive accordingly. He looks impressive, the cheeky guy noted after examining his opponent. Maybe it's because he doesn't need to lose weight that much. Watching from above was even more interesting. For the first time, he fought with someone shorter than him. There was just one problem. His tank was leaking. Suzuki grinned terribly and muttered under his breath. Do you think that your opponent is a punching bag or something? Or something crazy? Said the impudent guy. Luckily, the Japanese guy didn't understand a thing about Korean and just stared at Huiso. That was it. The referee separated them in different directions, ending the stare down. Huiso looked great in his best form and looked confidently at his opponent. The abnormal person feigned shyness and modesty. "Why are you picking on him?" Sun Hoon asked the cheeky guy who started it, but he justified himself. "What did he do?" asked the coach. "Grinding his teeth and muttering. Giving me goosebumps," said Hui. "So he really is as strange as they say." It seemed like he didn't care who was in front of him, as long as he could be beaten, the boy thought, and was grateful for that. Because that certainly won't happen on match day, he'll be able to focus on destroying the opponent. "Good shots, now rest," Sung Hoon told him on the day of the match, after warming up in the locker room. The cheeky guy sighed with relief and sat down on the bench. He was completely calm. "What are you thinking about?" "He's been quiet for a while today," the unshaven master asked him. For once, the lazy master paid attention to him. Unusually, the guy quipped. "Your tongue is your enemy," the trainer grumbled. "Nothing of the sort," the cheeky boy replied. "This fight will prove his worth as a fighter." He thought about the old master's words. "What is its real value?" the daring fighter asked himself. The boy raised his finger up meaningfully. "What an impudent fellow," thought the master. "Nobody likes spoilers," said the cheeky guy to the lazy master. "You're behaving as insolently as always. But without spoilers, it's more interesting," the unshaven master agreed. "We're waiting for your performance," he grumbled contentedly. 10 minutes, the organization's assistant interrupted them, their exit. "Let's have some beer and fried chicken after his win," the unshaven coach said. "The master will treat you," the impudent fighter agreed and smiled. In the blue corner is the star newcomer Lee Hui-so. The audience greets him with loud applause. The hosts commented on the match. This time he has a tough opponent. He has 7 wins under his belt in the lightweight division. In the red corner, a living Mitsubishi Suzuki engine, wearing a Hani mask, enters the ring. He always fights hard. The match lasts 15 minutes. There is enough time. Don't get into trouble. The more skirmishes, the calmer you need to be. The unshaven master gave the parting words. "Go ahead, make a cutlet out of him," he wished the fighter. "If you fail again, you won't get any more contracts," reminded Suzuki, his mustachioed coach. The fighters came to the middle. The referee called them, and they stood opposite each other. "They are both so different, it's surprising that they are in the same weight class," the presenters talked. "Suzuki won't have an easy time in this fight, but who knows, he's knocked out opponents bigger than Lee Hui-so. Besides, the Japanese has much more experience in fighting than the newcomer. Matches of physical strength versus experience," the leading commentators discussed. The referee gave the command to fight, and both fighters began to move in a circle, studying each other. Suzuki opened the fight first, landing a direct hit on Hui-so's guard. He immediately went into a series of strikes, judging the correct distance. Tall Hui-so had to quickly duck under heavy blows. "As soon as I bent down, a powerful uppercut was aimed at my head and flew past my chin by a hair. Hui-so dodged with his upper body, saving his strength. The blows whistled, scratching the tip of the nose. Each one could be the last. With perfect timing, Hui-so fired a straight left to stop his opponent, and then he immediately moved the attack downwards, adding a low kick to the shin. Suzuki's calf muscle went numb from the stinging blow, but the stubborn Japanese, on the contrary, took a step forward and attacked from above. A hand slid across the back of his head as Hui-so moved his head just a little to avoid the blow. Using his footwork, the cheeky guy circled around his opponent. Both fighters demonstrated excellent defensive and offensive skills. Hui-so watched the Japanese man carefully, recalling their common historical past. Mitsubishi drove like a tank straight ahead with powerful right hooks. Strike, defend, he left no gaps for Hui-so to counterattack. The Japanese fired a straight punch and immediately closed the distance between them. He kept trying to break through the brazen guy's defense, but he diligently dodged all the blows. With each swing, the driven fighter got closer and closer to him, until he finally hit the block with his sledgehammer. The audience exploded in applause. The powerful blow sent the daring guy flying back towards the net. Having driven his opponent into a corner, Mitsubishi began to rain blows on his rival. Hui-so leaned his body forward and rested his hands on the Japanese man's chest. With one movement, he pushed the striker away and stepped out of the corner. But the stocky Japanese did not let go of him, also moving with the blow. "It's so much fun to beat people up." His inner voice went crazy. Hui-so was pinned down again, and a hail of gunfire pounded his body. The Japanese man's mustachioed trainer got excited again and became worried, although he had told the fighter to remain calm. The series of blows did not end. Mitsubishi was definitely in good shape, the commentators noticed. "Too dangerous," said Song Hun. "The blows fly low," the old master thought. "It must be raining." No, he just lets himself be beaten. Suddenly an idea struck him by the unshaven master. Look closely, he said to Song Hoon. They both saw how well the guy was holding up. Like the swinging pendulum of a metronome, Huiso counted the strokes of the cylinders. The Japanese man's strike, defense, and pistons were practiced on his blocks. The tact, the high consistency, the strong and weak blows, he felt them all. Suzuki was really going wild. Huiso counted the gaps and combinations. He waited patiently. Mitsubishi showed no sign of getting tired and made ever wider swings, as if anticipating victory. He moved quickly and efficiently like a professional, which is what it takes to read. The metronome froze in the middle of the beat, and now Huiso felt the right moment. A razor blow cut off the chin of the psychotic opponent. He stopped, froze as if he had been nailed to the floor, having received a blow he did not expect. And then he got a bad mark. His head jerked like a toy. The Mitsubishi leaned back as if its engine had crashed into a pole at high speed. Here it is, the old master grumbled. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Everything happened so quickly that the spectators did not notice all the blows, but saw how the stocky opponent fell into the ring. He held up well. The master praised the daring guy. It was lucky that he was throwing punches thoughtlessly, and it became easier to calculate him. Li Hui. So asks for a standing ovation from the audience. The commentators chattered. Is there a more relaxed fighter? The cheeky boy turned his gaze to the madman below and brazenly pointed his finger at him. No, he waved brazenly. Don't even think about getting up, he mocked his opponent. Get up, we'll kill him, get up. The voices in my head were shouting in unison. Kill, immediately. Mitsubishi went completely crazy from shock. Get up, the referee ordered the Japanese man who was hesitating. They stood opposite each other again, but now a completely different atmosphere surrounded them. This time, Li Hui so attacked first, confident in his advantage. Keeping his distance, he fired at the enemy from a long distance, using his height and speed. Why are you standing there? Don't you want to come closer? Hui so mentally asked his opponent. Or he had already given up. A powerful uppercut broke through the defense and removed the block. The one-sided fight infuriated the Japanese even more. Unable to withstand the shelling, he rushed forward, ignoring the possible consequences. Excellent, that's a strike catching the rhythm perfectly, Huiso countered with an uppercut to the jaw. Let me get to know you better, the fighter thought. The strong neck absorbed the impact, distributing the damage throughout the body, but the blow was still painful. The Japanese tried to counterattack himself, but received a second blow, a right to the side. And the left finishing blow, even at close range, was not normal enough to enter into an equal exchange. He earned a second fall. If he gets another one, he automatically loses. The Japanese quickly tried to get back on his feet, despite the severe concussion. But before he could do this, a sharp knee blow was already flying towards his head. The knee could have dug into his head, and he flew back again. There was nowhere to retreat. My back was pressed against the net, and the match turned out in a mirror image. Gritting his teeth, the crazy Japanese could only wait for the next attacks. A second flying knee strike to a stationary target sealed the deal. Huiso didn't give his crazy opponent a chance to respond, breaking his turtle defense. Each blow was heavier than the previous one. The daring guy hit with all his body weight. Having pinned him with his hands from below, Huiso moved the attack to the top, delivering a high kick to the head. Even with his defense up, the opponent was receiving damage. The Mitsubishi's body skidded to the left due to the momentum of the impact. As if that wasn't enough, his opponent froze in front of him. Huiso raised his hands and stood within striking distance of his opponent, mocking him. Kill, quickly! The voices tormented the freak with anger. The cheeky guy smiled mischievously. He was in complete control of the battlefield. The raised hand shot out sharply, but Mitsubishi managed to dodge. He immediately tried to deliver a jumping attack, stepping towards Huiso. A wide swing slid past the daring fighter a couple of centimeters away. Of course he will dodge. The crazy fighter expected this. Here's a real punch. He fired a long, straight right. Just in time, at the last moment, Huiso simply moved his head out of the line of attack. Even such an unexpected trick didn't work on the sharp-eyed guy. The crazy guy became worried. Huiso easily slid into long range, where he could once again deliver multiple blows with impunity. Hey, what nonsense! Huiso looked at the helpless Japanese man with disdain. No, he shook his finger again, making it clear that he couldn't do anything. The punctured fuel tank began to whistle loudly. Mitsubishi could not bear such a disgrace. At that very moment, he rushed forward without any plan or calculation, relying on blind chance. Huiso clearly saw the wild, wide movements of the abnormal one and deftly dodged. The smile never left the face of the daring guy. He was not at all afraid of his opponent's destructive moves. All attacks failed, the stocky fighter panicked and couldn't understand why. Huiso dodged so easily as if he was dancing. He moved flexibly and elastically. A middle kick with the speed of the wind cut through the torso of the crazy Japanese. Huiso raised his leg for another middle kick, and his opponent cowered in advance. But instead, he simply made some random movements with his leg to confuse his opponent. "Now he's just having fun, he doesn't even let me take a step," the old coach grumbled contentedly. No. This was the third time the impudent guy mercilessly teased his opponent. "So!" the Japanese man shouted, and all his valves finally blew. "Don't fall for provocations," the mustachioed coach advised, but it made no sense. The stocky freak went into disuse, forgetting about protection and about everything except his hatred. Huiso moved easily along the line of a wide, drawn-out strike. The counterattack penetrated the skull with a leaking roof. The Mitsubishi received double damage. He fell for the third time, and Huiso didn't let go of this opportunity. The Japanese man's battered face was swollen like a beetroot from bruises. Suddenly he felt a fear he had never experienced before. Hell was empty. All the demons had gathered here. They came for him. Huiso's elbow slashed from above. "You're angry, okay? Get even angrier," thought Huiso as he destroyed his opponent. He needs to feel with his whole body what it's like to be beaten half to death. The way he loves, Huiso's blows chopped at him. All this time, the freak was doing exactly this in the ring. The fight turned into a bloody massacre. Mitsubishi let go of his defenses. He lay there completely stunned, his eyes rolling back. The referee shouted stop. The last hammer blow sank into the ring near the Japanese man's head. Demon Hui. So came to his senses. The fight was over. The referee covered the defeated fighter with his body. Li Hui. So wins another fight by knockout in the first round. The commentators go crazy. A fighter who hasn't even spent a year in the ring has burst into the lightweight category rankings. Li Hui. So won the fight at 3 minutes and 38 seconds into the first round by technical knockout. Just look at these headlines. Taeyeon was scrolling through the news feed. How could the viewers not appreciate such a bright fight? Song-hoon also changed and allowed himself to relax. He was not like this before, the old master noticed. It was unusual to see the always stern and picky eyebrow-twirling match winner. "Excellent!" the unshaven master heard the impudent guy's cry. "What has already happened?" the old master grumbled. "The test results have arrived," the excited fighter answered. "Passed," the confident guy declared. 2 wins out of 2. "It seems it's time to look for documents and find out what the weather will be like," the impudent guy dreamed, not noticing how Song-hoon and Taeyong slowly moved away. The cheeky guy started calling his mother and chatting happily about his victory and future trips. "What are we going to do?" the coaches whispered conspiratorially. "It's not his concern," the old master grumbled. "He didn't think he'd get through," Taeyeon lamented. Huiso didn't take into account that after the written test, there would be an oral and practical exam. In other words, he wouldn't be able to make it to Yeon-kun's match. What do they know about pain? Huiso is sprawled in the middle of the ruins of a castle in the air. The dream of going abroad has just collapsed. "What's wrong with him? He looks like a dead fish," asked Yeon-kun. "Will it take a long time?" his comrade reassured him. Sung-hoon dared to approach the athlete who was disappointed in people and life. "Oh, mister," who eventually became the second coach, the impudent guy greeted without hiding his envy and indignation. "Of course he himself is a fool, since he believed that he could do everything in 4 months," the impudent fighter whined. In any case, since Song-hoon is busy, he is now entrusted to go to Yoo-jin, the main slacker of the hall. "The girl got sick. Lives alone. There is no one to take care of her," the trainer explained. "But why him?" the fighter answered sourly. "There are plenty of other guys." "Go to Yoo-jin," the other guys perked up, vying with each other to offer themselves as guardians. "It is precisely because he doesn't want to that he has to do it," Song-hoon said sternly. "Others will simply eat her up. Since his match just ended, he had nothing to do anyway, so he might as well go and have some fun." Song-hoon handed over the corporate card for expenses. "Got it," the cheeky guy resigned himself. "Can I buy something for myself?" he asked. And Sun-hoon gave the go-ahead. "The main thing is to bring the receipt." "I'm counting on you." Song-hoon saw him off, and the guy headed off to visit. The apartment is on the top floor, and the girl knows how to live successfully, the impudent guy envied. He came to visit a friend and greeted the concierge. This door, he quickly found his bearings, with the address in his phone, and rang the bell. Someone got tired of living there. A sick sparrow crawled out. What a look. At least she could have combed her hair. The cheeky guy said hello. Ah, the alarmed sparrow defended. The girl did not expect to see him outside the door. She slammed the door loudly right in front of his nose, and the mouse hid in its hole. That's how she receives guests, the tactless guy grumbled. While she was going crazy, trapped in her own home, the girl was breathing heavily. Was he following her? The little gray mouse squeaked. No, it was just Song-hoon who gave him the address and told him to check it out, the guy explained. Why didn't you warn me? She squealed angrily. Didn't Song-hoon call her? The guy weakly justified himself. Big deal. The house is a mess. He came for nothing, the guy grumbled, and she told him to shut up, thinking about how to reduce the scale of the disaster. And they said that she was sick, but she herself caused a stir. The impudent guy grumbled at the door. Come in since you came. The gray sick mouse ruffled his feathers. Don't look around. Don't look at your feet either. It's better to gouge out your eyes, grumbled the embarrassed mouse. Oh, familiar methods. He assessed the pile of unwashed dishes covered with a towel in the sink. Don't go to bed yet, eat well, but the mouse was in a hurry to burrow into a warm nest. Even when sick, one must move and eat, insisted the cheeky guy, asking where the portable table was. Behind the kitchen, the mouse muttered. She was so weak that she had no strength for barbs or embarrassment. And he loves to eat, the sick cutie noticed, watching him gobble up the porridge he brought. While she was watching, her stomach also began to rumble. Now she was behaving so quietly, Huiso smiled. The mouse slowly brought the spoon to his mouth and began to eat. In other circumstances, it would have bristled with thorns and would not have even let him over the threshold. He certainly thought about having lunch together, but who would have known that they would eat like this? The cheeky guy noticed, and the mouse also smiled sweetly. He asked the girl how long she had been ill, and she said that 3 days ago, yesterday was the worst. Wait, so she hasn't washed since then? That's why she has a nest on her head. The impudent guy took advantage of her lack of weapons. But she washed herself. Just smell it. He theatrically plugged his nose, although the aroma of chocolate and cherries intoxicated him. Even more exhausted because of the blockhead, the girl leaned back on the side of the bed, her eyes closing on their own. But it's good that someone visited her, the sick mouse blurted out in a moment of weakness. It's just a pity that it was him, but it will do. She returned all the barbs to him. I saw the match, the girl muttered. That's true, the guy forced a smile. Even when she got sick, she didn't look at me. Leave it, she said softly. Well done. She sincerely congratulated the athlete. The fight surprised her. She knew he was not bad, but this was a completely different level, the mouse shared. How unusual it is to hear compliments from her, even awkward, he scratched the back of his head. She is definitely sick. Was the tired mouse surprised by such impudence? Why would she do something like that? The girl asked scornfully. However, she has something to say, the cutie looked away embarrassedly. She really did think he was an idiot, the sweet girl said harshly. Such directness made even the impudent guy freeze to the floor. These are some statements, Huiso paused, thinking about how to respond. In principle, she didn't really hide her attitude. Even a stupid person would have guessed. Oh, really? The girl showed little remorse. But since she confessed, it means everything is not so bad at the moment, the guy cheered up. At first, she thought that he was taken unfairly, so he does whatever he wants and acts like a self-centered piece of ass. Pinned Huiso, but it turned out to be something completely different. Her voice became timid and soft again. Still, he has skills and hard work, and his self-confidence is justified in places. Although he is still a boastful peacock, she continued, No, since you are praising, go on, the impudent boy insisted. I'm sorry, the girl said humbly. Come on, the athlete waved it off. This will only ruin their relationship. She did it not to amuse his vanity, but so as not to feel worse herself. The sick mouse mumbled weakly. What's wrong? He asked when the mouse finally lost all its strength. His firm, cool palm rested on her forehead. She thought for a second. So good. What is he doing? The hot mouse asked languidly as he touched his forehead for comparison. Stop grumbling. He lightly slapped her on the forehead, switching on the caring boyfriend mode. It seems like she's getting worse. She's been torturing herself so much before, and she's still sick, Huiso realized. Heavy loads, strict diets weaken the body, which is why the risk of getting sick is higher. 2 matches in less than a year, meetings with fans, etc. It wasn't easy for her. Huiso gently took her arm and helped her up. Take the pills. He gave her an antipyretic, and the hot cutie didn't argue. He softly wrapped the little mouse in the nest, and the girl quickly fell asleep. He looked at the cute little nose sticking out from under the blanket. Now it's time to tidy up the kitchen and living room, the guy decided. Idiot, she squeaked his name, Li Huiso, and the guy listened. Still not asleep, he asked. Thank you, the sick mouse whispered quietly. I don't hate you anymore. He heard honest words. The level of relations increased from negative to neutral. Although he is still a fool, she added with a sweet yawn, Hui so smiled. Even in his sleep he says the same thing, which means he speaks sincerely, he realized. Having completed his duties in the kitchen, he wiped the sweat from his forehead. Well done on this part, said the caring guy. The forbidden door, the room of a lonely girl, rose before him. To be or not to be? That was the question, the impudent guy thought. She locked it securely. There can be no doubt what is there. He scratched his beard. Be that as it may, he took the risk of opening Pandora's box and looked inside. The wardrobe was full of unwashed clothes. It was a pigsty. The guy who lived with his mother at 23 was horrified. It's impossible to tell the clean from the dirty. Everything is mixed up. He assessed the scope of work. I'll wash everything. Having finished his business, he returned to the hall, quite tired of household chores. They were just looking for him, one of the coaches called him. What had already happened surprised Huiso. Blow quickly to the master. There is a tall guest who has come to see you, the athlete was informed. There were a couple of things to do, so I dropped in for a minute. The whole director of X1 was being disingenuous. Why are you frozen as if you did something wrong? Asked his bearded grandfather. No, I'm just surprised that the director came in person. The athlete apologized. He came to personally discuss the contract with the athlete, but the unshaven master insisted on being nearby. This is some other contract. The guy rubbed the back of his head in confusion. He didn't really study at school. The talk is about changing his current contract, the cunning director said. SFC wants to take him over. The director stunned the guy with such a powerful statement that he didn't look very surprised, the cunning director stated. They suddenly contacted each other and demanded Huiso for themselves, even though he had barely made it through 3 matches. But why didn't they contact them directly? The impudent guy asked. Apparently, they decided to act politely. After all, the organizations exchanged many fighters. Still, he hopes that Huiso will refuse this offer. It is difficult even for home champions to survive in SFC. And it is also difficult to attract the attention of viewers. It's more profitable to stay here, said the director. He won't stop him from leaving, but he'll be glad if Huiso refuses. They make good money on him. Of course, the conditions in X1 will be better, the director promised. And the impudent guy pricked up his ears. A permanent salary of 8 million, plus a 100% bonus for winning. The fighter's eyes widened when they told him the amount. They had already discussed this matter with the old master, but it would be up to Huiso himself to decide. Then let's trust Master Sang-guk, the guy said. Is there really nothing to say? The unshaven trainer was surprised. If he could, he would sign everything right away, the fighter admitted. SFCs are not only good for the money offers. What about their reputation and prestige that is important to them? Sang-guk asked. They are the world arena. Any fighter as good as Huiso will want to participate in it, the unshaven master insisted. Now the competition is very high. There are a lot of fighters, and they are exhausted to the point of losing their pulse. Where is the prestige? The director objected. These are the words of the spirit of the old men. But what will the other fighters say about this? Answered the unshaven master. Opinions may differ, just state your conditions, the director suggested. The starting conditions were 10 million, and the same for victory. The director heard their demands. Isn't it too much, Hui? So looked doubtfully to offer such a salary to athletes of national level. They really will have enough of this, I heard the surprised voice of director Huiso. They seem to be cautious in front of him. The director discouraged the athletes. 12 million and the same for victory. He stunned them with a new offer, raising the required rate. 12, the athletes muttered in unison, not believing their ears. The total had grown by 1/3 from the starting point. He will also introduce them to a sponsor, so that they will receive about 30 million more a year, the cunning director suggested thoughtfully. Of course, everything is not free. He will get this money if he wins the match. But what if he loses? Huiso clarified. Let's make do with 10 for participation and 10 for winning, as Sang-guk suggested, the director reasoned. They will remain the winners in any case. What's the catch? The old master didn't believe in such generosity, but the director raised his hands. So far, he can't reveal all the details. But now he is preparing for something, and he hopes that Huiso will become a part of it. The director narrowed his eyes slyly. But what is he talking about? Sang-guk asked. The market will soon expand, but it is a risky bet. Everything will work out if it goes according to plan, the director said. He couldn't say anything else, but they certainly had nothing to lose, the director assured them. And Hui So was already wagging his tail to sign while the master was thinking. They agree, the director heard, and beamed like a saint. It was not for nothing that he came here personally. Tomorrow he will send a rough version of the contract. The conditions will change, so they will receive the final version after the match. The director politely said goodbye, and Sang-guk offered to walk him to the car. Hui So, he addressed the athlete at last, and he listened attentively. Be sure to take care of your master. It is difficult to find such a person, he said, and even the old master was embarrassed. Of course, he will always be grateful to him, the impudent guy replied. Well, that's great. I expect new achievements from him in the next match. The director said goodbye. This is luck, the self-confident guy rejoiced. Whether we were lucky or not, we will find out only in the future, the unshaven master grumbled. Something is wrong. The naive boy was surprised. Something doesn't add up, the master grumbled. They wouldn't have been offered such a deal if it hadn't been beneficial to the association. The director is definitely not the kind of person who would miss out on profits. Although they don't know what will happen in the future, it's not clear how he will use the guy. Is he a bad person? The fighter asked. No, Sang-guk shook his head. He certainly won't intimidate or pressure his athletes. Then there are no problems, the carefree guy rejoiced. He trusts so easily, the old master grumbled. Of course he trusts the master completely, because they have come so far together. The impudent guy grinned. He shouldn't be so trusting. He'll definitely be deceived, the coach grumbled. But did he have anything to deceive himself with? Asked Hui So. Anything is possible, the old man grumbled, which means he will still trust this time. The carefree guy answered. He had come so far thanks to the master. He could take a risk once, the boy flattered. Don't laugh, you fool! The master slapped the guy on the shoulder, as if his flattery could work, the trainer grumbled contentedly. Keep your mouth shut until it's official. If he spills the beans, there will be chaos in the team, the coach sternly ordered. That's settled, the unshaven master grumbled. What about Eugene, he asked, and the guy laid out the details. At this point, the old master let go of the impudent boy and took up the papers. The phone vibrated in my pocket. I love my master, the impudent boy sent him. The internal financier was jubilant. Soon he would receive a huge sum for the fight, and also the sponsor for just 2 matches a year. The cheeky guy was drooling. Climbing to the top is really not easy. He grew up quickly, the cheeky guy thought. But even if we put all this aside, there is even better news than this. Now SFC turned their attention to him. He raised his hands in satisfaction. No matter how things turn out in the future, if he changes his mind, he can become the second fighter in the International League, along with Young Kun. The golden ticket to the arena is every fighter's dream, and he got it in just 1 year. He was definitely well established here and could continue to do so, the boy thought. Then he will pay his parents everything he has owed for so many years. A sudden call tore him away from his castles in the air. The thorn Min-jin was calling him. Apparently she had woken up recently. He entered the room, the mouse squeaked energetically. Apparently she felt better. It's great that she feels better, he told her. The ferocious little mouse did not calm down. He came in, the embarrassed girl screamed. He sorted out his things in boxes, threw out the trash. The guy answered calmly. After all, no one asked him to. The thorn was angry. He also washed the panties and bras, hung everything up separately, he said in a casual tone. Crazy idiot? She squealed from anger and embarrassment. What's wrong with that? He was surprised. He didn't really look into it. She might not worry, he reassured the girl. But it only got worse. Why? He continued to squeak. For the umpteenth time, this conversation was leading nowhere, the impudent guy decided. Just get well soon, the impenetrable boy answered her. Maybe if I don't go to the gym today, I might as well die soon, the carefree athlete muttered. Hurry up, the match is about to start, they shouted to him from the audience as he picked up the delivery. The pizza and fried chicken arrived. A cheeky guy came galloping, and my friend was very happy. He quickly laid out on the floor. Now everything was ready for quality viewing. He was more worried about this match than his own, Hui So said. And Young Hwan agreed, his heart racing with excitement. In the blue corner is the undefeated Bob, the middleweight champion with a score of 12 wins, Ricardo da Silva. In the red corner, a fighter with a fair number of victories from Korea, Kang Young-kun, announced the match host. Blue is ready! The referee pointed at the fighter and Ricardo raised his guard. Red is ready, He asked the same thing to Yang Kun, and he took a stance. Fight. The referee gave the command, and the fighters began to move. Young Kun rushed towards Ricardo from the start, and he missed the shot. Without slowing down, the Korean grabbed the champion and threw him into the ring. The teammates were jubilant. Yes, they shouted, keep it up. But the strong champion was able to get up and counterattack. Now Young Kun missed the blows. In the second round, he missed a lot, having lost his enthusiasm in the first round, and the Korean was knocked down. How so? The team tensed up in anxious anticipation of the outcome. Young Kun lasted until the third round. Both opponents were breathing heavily. The champion looked exhausted and did not dare to attack the impudent Korean. Gathering his strength, he rushed forward to seize the initiative in this round. Ricardo made a pass to the legs, instantly getting closer to the opponent. Young Kun had a hard time keeping his balance and not falling. He had lost a lot of strength in the last round. At the last moment, he managed to perform the throttle and squeezed Ricardo's neck. He quickly ran out of oxygen and slapped the mats. The match was over. The stands roared with Kang Young Kun's first victory. Everything is really completely different. The daring guy assessed the fight. Both fighters are champions of their home organizations, but in that arena, they are just contenders for the world title. This means that there are still many monsters there that are stronger than them. Renewing his contract with X1 was the right decision. Hui So realized after watching this match. He is still too inexperienced. There is no point in rushing. He needs to start by conquering the home arena. The guy decided for himself. The phone in the team office was ringing loudly, but no one was paying attention to it. It seems like everyone is too busy worrying about the match of a fighter from their gym. The guy realized and went to answer. Tim Atak, Hui So introduced himself, and the voice on the phone asked why the coaches weren't answering. Today is Young Kun's debut match, the guy explained. Everyone is too absorbed in the match. How did the match go? They asked him. The victory in the third round. By chokehold, Hui So voiced impressive results. It wasn't all smooth sailing. He was very tired after 3 rounds and almost lost, the guy bragged. In any case, there is news for him, the cheeky guy was told. There is a possibility of participating in the main match in September. It was clear from him that he was attacking, so he grabbed him. The strong Korean boasted of his victory. Hui Seo sipped his beer thoughtfully and remained silent, and Sung Hoon noticed this. Why are you so downhearted since you received an invitation to the match? He asked the despondent boy. He had a good time in the States. The cheeky guy made a dig, but Sung Hoon brushed it all off after all. He worked there. And how are the American girls? Asked the cunning boy, very open. The always reserved coach blushed, so everything is not so bad, understood Hui So. Scoundrel, let him tell you about the invitation. He poked the fighter in the shoulder. There is no exact date yet, the guy said. Has the opponent been decided? The bushy-browed coach asked him. And Hui So replied that he hadn't yet, and that worried him. The choice fell on 2 fighters, but Pereiro was recommended. The bushy-browed trainer heard a familiar name. Harsh, yes, said the cheeky guy. He is number 1, and the other is Kim Ji-hyun, number 3. They're both strong guys, Song Hoon frowned, and the boy became worried. Very strong opponents. Let's start with Pereiro. He has a disgusting character, the bushy-browed coach said. A sidekick, a barn, a flying elbow strike. All these techniques disable opponents, and many fighters never return to the ring after them. He has a bad reputation among fighters because of doping, steroid injections, diuretics. He was caught with almost everything. Many organizations abandoned it after high-profile scandals. If the fight gets out of control, he risks not returning to the ring. Sung Hoon frowned. Kim Jo-hyun is also not simple. He was nicknamed the keeper of his weight category, the bushy-browed trainer continued. He is well-trained and is a ruthless monster for beginners. Even in the pro environment, he has received many nicknames. Based on what I heard, Kim Ja-hyun will be easier, the guy asked. It's not that simple, it's the main event, Song Hoon clarified. Jakin had won most of his victories by decision, and the guy was now even more confused. The judge's decision means that Jaehyun will hold on until the last round and score points. A newcomer who has not fought more than 2 will quickly give up. He needs to win the fight in 2 rounds, but no one has ever done that. He's like an armored train, Hui So thought. In terms of painful moves, Pereiro is more suitable, but in any case, both need to be analyzed, the meticulous trainer advised. Watch the videos of their matches first, okay, Hui? So sighed. Now he was even more worried. Even late at night, he could not sleep. His thoughts revolved around the upcoming match. He watched the video for several hours and still didn't decide anything. Both opponents were formidable for him. He had to choose without thinking. Now he was only more confused. The guy sighed. Who is writing there at this late hour? He wondered and looked at his phone. The unshaven master decided to write to him, and when he found out that the guy was not sleeping, he called him. Sung-hoon told the old coach everything, and that the boy couldn't make a choice. Let him not bother and choose the one he would like to fight the most, the master advised. Isn't that too presumptuous? Huiso was surprised. Trained athletes like him can rely on instinct. Both opponents are not easy. The master will be able to train him for any match. Or he doesn't believe it and thinks that they will let him lose. The old master grumbled discontentedly. The guy was able to laugh with relief. In that case, there was no point in straining myself, the cheeky guy decided. I wasted so much time on speculation. The fighter smiled. Then the answer lies on the surface. He already knew who he wanted to fight. Of course he chooses him. The brave fighter grinned cheekily. I'll go get the sword, the boy squeaked and ran after him. The boy picked up the ball and saw a grown man in front of him. He sat there with a stern frown as if he were a complete stranger. Dad? The boy beamed, recognizing the familiar face of the man who was pretending to be a passerby. Son? The long unshaven man suddenly smiled tenderly. And he was early, the boy noticed. He came early to see his progress, his father said. He was able to play much better, and was even able to score a goal, the boy boasted. It's a pity he didn't see it, the man said. Never mind, he'll show him next time, the boy promised cheerfully. Give me the ball, the boy's friends shouted, and he replied that it was time for him to run. He will be here and look after him, so let him play as much as he wants, the father promised. His father is so scary, the boy's friend said, but the son denied everything. Dad can't be scary. The man looked at his son with satisfaction. He loved him very much. The boy really did grow a lot. Another person noticed his gaze. Why is the phone switched off? The bald, bearded man asked him. We haven't seen each other for a long time, the fighter said reluctantly. How did he know where he was? The athlete grumbled. He asked his ex-wife. His manager simply answered. Was the old man following her or something? The fighter was indignant. You should have just picked up the phone, the bearded man replied. He sees his son once a month. Couldn't they meet another day? But the bald, bearded man insisted. An invitation from X1 has arrived, the manager said, and the fighter grimaced dismissively. September, Korea, Seoul, the opponent liked him more than the other guy. He could accept the offer first, but the fighter turned up his nose. Another match as a substitute, I refuse, the unshaven athlete grumbled. He has already won 9 fights in this league. They are constantly giving some newcomers. Why put up with this? The fighter was indignant. It's all because he did crazy things before, and other organizations rejected him. He simply did everything for the sake of victory. The stern fighter frowned. How lucky for them that they are broke. He looked thoughtfully at his son. You know how much children demand, the athlete grumbled discontentedly. Let him stop using doping and start respecting his opponents. He will get more offers. There are other details of the proposal, said the bald-bearded man. But the fighter waved it off anyway. He will not fight, even if he is given a title fight in case of victory, the bald manager asked slyly. Pereiro snatched the sheets of paper with the contract as soon as he heard these words. That's great. That's where we should have started. Pereiro rejoiced. This proposal interested him. Juan, he called his son to come over for a minute. He really wanted to share this joy. See you at that cafe. After he talks to his son, the fighter threw down the papers. All the papers are now like they've been chewed up. The bald manager was indignant. Soon he will become a champion, the father said to his son. Dad will become the strongest, the boy rejoiced. Yes, and he will become the son of the strongest fighter who lifted the boy into his arms. They both laughed and fooled around for a long time, rejoicing at this news. I give up, Huiso wheezed in pain, and he began training hard again. I just pressed it, and the bastard is already clapping. The blond boy was indignant. He had almost used his technique. Why waste time? The athlete was disingenuous. How he was going to fight with high-ranking fighters? The trainer was indignant. I knocked to learn faster. The fighter waved it off carelessly. And what to do with this lazy, impudent fellow? The blond trainer wondered. Let's do it this way, he suggested to the impudent guy. And Huiso pricked up his ears. One time, if he beats him once, the coach will buy lunches for a whole month, the blonde challenged. Freebie, the eyes of the daring fighter sparkled at such offers. A month of free lunches in the off-season, when you can gain weight. The impudent guy calculated all the benefits. Excellent. The daring fighter jumped to his feet. Now he was fired up for training. The blonde frowned. The changes in the guy were too noticeable. Huiso looked only forward with the gaze of a true killer. Great. Now he sees his strength of spirit, said the blonde coach and responded in kind. The blonde master started first and moved forward. He leaned lower, aiming for the cheeky boy's legs. Capture, he understood. But the daring fighter did not have time to react. Damn, he realized when the trainer's hands reached for his neck. A trick. He was aiming for the neck. The trainer's hand fell below the back of the head. In that case, he would repay in kind. Huiso also entered the flame with the blonde. The daring fighter's foot slid and caught the blonde under his supporting leg. With his other hand, the daring guy slid under his opponent's leg, and he easily lifted it into the air and then quickly threw it in one motion. Having firmly slammed the trainer onto the mat, he pressed him down with his body from above. The blonde lay calmly. He gave the initiative to the fighter when he grabbed his hand. He was surprised by how quickly he moved to the ground. Huiso was in a hurry to complete the move and take the opponent into a hold. The naive man was too hasty and did not secure his legs. The trainer grinned and threw his leg over the fighter's back. He made a turn, trapping his arm tightly between his legs and going into an elbow lock. In the blink of an eye, the daring athlete found himself at a grave disadvantage. Damn! He changed the position of his hand in a second. I need to get out, the guy decided. By pinning his arm with his foot, the trainer took control of the fighter's other arm, and he was unable to get up. What a pity, the blonde trainer grinned. He did everything too quickly. He really is good, the cheeky guy admitted. Let him go now and they can talk again. The motivation of the award alone is not enough, the coach said. He must feel the pain of the reception in order to avoid it even more vigorously. We had a great conversation. Let's play like this next time, said the blonde guy as he said goodbye. Good job, the meticulous Sung-hoon praised him as the boy stood up. I saw it myself. It's not very good, the guy muttered. In fact, everything was fine. Song-hoon calmed him down. There was nothing he could do, he said. Almost overpowered Lee Soo with his 4th dan in jiu-jitsu, praised Song-hoon. I couldn't even beat him once. I was grieving about the missed opportunity. A cheeky guy, not knowing that most people can't even knock down a coach. He was able to do this even when he was being attacked, the bushy-browed man noted to himself. Lee Soo has the same physique as Huiso. Even if he couldn't defeat the fighter, only a few in this weight class can do it. Maybe it was because of his past training in Korean wrestling, Sung-hoon thought. This sport is quite rare. It is difficult to master, and few people study it. You could say that this is part of Huiso's unique skills, a special set. He only lacks experience and understanding of how to properly use everything he already knows. Impressive growth, noted the bushy-browed one. Song-hoon clearly remembered something important and changed the subject. Tomorrow he will be tested for doping, people from the association. Pereira will be tested too, asked the cheeky guy. No idea, it's a random test. The bushy-browed trainer shrugged. It's a pity the guy was upset. He definitely wouldn't have passed it. But something is worrying. The supplements he takes do not contain doping, the impudent fighter asked. Their team has never been caught doping? There is nothing to worry about. He won't fail because of fried chicken. The athlete chuckled. Of course, what nonsense. The meticulous Song-hoon waved it off, and only then realized the scale of the crime. Ha ha! The cheeky guy scratched the back of his head awkwardly, thinking that it would work. It didn't work. The meticulous eyebrow sticker looked at him intently. He ate chicken? The meticulous coach stated rather than asked. The boy turned away. Repeat the question. The meticulous coach lost his temper, and beads of sweat appeared on Huiso's forehead. Lee Soo, he saw the blonde boy. How about training some more? The torture of lectures from Song-hoon looked worse than suffocation. At least the soy one was tasty, asked Song-hoon calmly, but he ate it in a spicy marinade. The naive guy easily fell for the trick. Could it really be that the spicy marinade means the suspect is getting confused in his testimony? Noted the meticulous Song-hoon. The match was announced a long time ago, and he still eats such food. Heavy hands fell on the shoulders of the impudent guy. No need to exaggerate, he only ate a small piece. The daring fighter stepped back. If you tried it, it means you've already succumbed to temptations. The chicken is good, and there's also a marinade. It's good to eat it on the sly. How to lose this weight? Song-hoon exploded. 3 pieces of everything. Huiso ran away. 3. Just now there were only 1. Now the number is growing. The meticulous trainer drove after him. Now stand still. We'll have to skin him so he'll be lighter, shouted Song-hoon. Everyone who works with this guy is going crazy, Lee Soo noted. And the one who suffers the most is Sung-hoon, Taeyong agreed. Huiseo was unable to escape retribution. Sung-hoon made him sweat until he was completely exhausted. Keep chasing him like a dog and make sure he doesn't eat anything. The meticulous trainer frowned. Huiso was puffing and panting during his morning run. The last few days before the match had not been easy. Inhale and exhale 3 times, keep running. Sung-hoon was riding his bike next to him. Shadowboxing, he said sternly, and Huiso stopped to swing his arms. Great, now from the beginning, grumbled the strict trainer, who had not yet forgotten about the chicken. Huiso caught his breath in the shower, the only place other than the toilet where he could rest. His diet became poor. Fish, rice, sprouted greens, no salt or spices. Again, he looked at the dry and tasteless food under the strict supervision of Song-hoon. Something doesn't please him. The thick-browed man frowned, and so quickly replied, No, sir. Only 2 weeks have passed since the beginning of this week. Now, he did not just think about the eyebrows. Perero is unusually developed because in order to reduce their difference in weight, the guy would have to gain up to 82. In addition, he needed to maintain the same fluid balance in his body. He does not eat carbohydrates or salt. When animals are stressed, they become aggressive. Humans are not far behind. They become sensitive but can cope with it. Even though the guy had never objected before, even so, Song-hoon wouldn't regret it. Bring some water, said the cheeky guy. Stop sitting around, useless coach. And Sung-hoon immediately regretted praising the bastard. He went to the water cooler and the lazy repairman called him. Resting after training, Sun-hoon told the boss. True, they will be ready, he answered the lazy boss, what the impudent guy asked. What's up early in the morning? Prick up your ears, daring fighter. Perero arrived in Korea. The bushy-browed coach looked sternly at the fighter. He needs to prepare for the interview. It's good that we arrived on time. Song-hoon brought the cheeky guy for the interview. For the occasion, the boy had dressed up in a suit and was now fiddling with his tie. Such an uncomfortable suit, the guy grumbled discontentedly. The bushy-browed trainer always answered him. Let's go. The bearded director was already sitting behind the podium in the center, as expected. Lee Huiseo arrived, the cameras started flashing, and the event attracted a lot of attention. Director Huiso waved his hand, as usual ignoring all formal etiquette. Well trained, asked the director and responded to the handshake. This is his first conference. Can he handle it? The director asked. So answered that he will do what he has to. Or maybe there are some recommendations for him. No, he can do whatever he wants. Just let him not swear. The director smiled. What are you saying? He won't swear. The impudent guy assured the director. Since he is so confident, he can sit down, suggested the cunning director. Everyone who was supposed to arrive had already arrived, but the opponent still hadn't arrived. Huiso became tense. The assistant approached the director and quietly whispered something in his ear. I ask for your understanding. The director made a statement. The athlete Perero is currently stuck in traffic and therefore is delayed. Let's begin the interview with the participants of the joint event. A whisper went through the hall. It seems that it is difficult to find the way here, especially for foreigners, thought the cheeky guy. But even 20 minutes later, the athlete did not show up, which completely infuriated the old director. This means there are no manners at all. No excuses will help here, the guy decided. The interviews with the other athletes had already ended, and the microphone was finally handed over to the cheeky athlete. Here he is, great, let everyone fall down and glorify him, Huiso introduced himself. The first question, as if in school, was raised first in a race. His past is not revealed, the journalist asked, and many judge him as a newcomer. What can the athlete answer to this? He started training MMA in July last year. The match against Cho Woo-jung was his debut. So confirmed his status as a rookie. So he debuted without going through the league. The journalist was surprised. At that time, Chung Woo's opponent got injured and the guy acted as a substitute. This means that he trained for the first 3 weeks without knowing his opponent at all. The journalist was surprised. That's right, the guy replied, and gave the floor to another journalist. From the very first match, he manages to dominate his opponents and win in the first round? How does he train? The journalist asked. He had some tactics from the very beginning and he stuck to them, the cheeky guy replied. So simple, the journalist was surprised. So simple, the daring fighter rubbed his cheek, not knowing what else to add. The stream of questions did not subside, and they again pounced on him like piranhas. The guy is holding up well. Despite the fact that this is his first conference, he doesn't cross the line and remains confident, the director noted. He certainly knows how to work the crowd and how to attract attention, the cunning director thought. The interview was stopped briefly because the one who had been expected for a long time showed up. Fighter Perero arrived at the conference as if he had just flown in, dressed in light clothes, as if he had just come from the beach. Sorry for being late, The manager apologized guiltily on his behalf. This is an outfit, the guy thought. But what could be done like this? He wondered. Huiso, a dark-skinned and bearded fighter, approached him. As if nothing had happened, he was the first to extend his hand to his seated opponent. Nice to meet you, good fight? Pereiro's manager translated. The impudent guy looked askance at this phenomenon, not rushing to react. And yet he decided to extend his hand for a handshake. But his opponent squeezed his hand hard. Looks like a pretty girl, nothing special, Pereiro muttered contemptuously. The translator was stunned, wondering how to translate this and get the message. Let's give it our all. He smoothed out the rough edges a bit. Pereiro sat down as if he were the main guest here, and only now the real show began. He too was bombarded with a barrage of insignificant and boring questions. The fighter even yawned. He felt so bored that he would have been better off sleeping in a hotel, he thought. Is anyone really concerned about his removal or other ridiculous rumors? He asked reporters. Why he agreed to fight a child, or what the association offered him. That's what should really concern them, he said. But on the other hand, there is no secret about it. At first, he really didn't want to, because of the big difference in age and experience. But Director Yang offered conditions that couldn't be refused. The director heard and thought, what a blockhead. For winning this match, he will receive a title shot. The fighter provocatively stated that he was playing his own game. The title fight will be next. What news? The guests were surprised. Please be sure to write about this, but first he will of course smear the brat's cute face. The director made a statement to quickly end the conference and save the situation before the madman said too much. Wait a minute, Hui. So didn't agree. Is the fight over already? He asked. He also had something to say. Before discussing the title shot, we first need to discuss this fight. But he intends to win, the guy said. So he is so sure, the journalist asked. Why else would you take part in a fight if you're not sure of its outcome? The athlete answered boldly. The opponent may be thinking about unrealistic dreams. Here is a suitable headline. Pereiro could not get the gold belt. The fighter was insolent. You think there's a chance, brat? Pereiro grabbed the microphone. We'll see when we fight. The old man has plenty of weaknesses, and he knows about them, the fighter said insolently. He's just pushing his price, said the fighter in shorts. Everyone here knows it's a bluff. Oh, we need facts. They are here, the cheeky guy grinned slyly. How long can this wedge-headed guy last before he goes back on steroids? Huiso issued a prepared provocation. The stocky and experienced fighter darkened. The impudent guy crossed the line. It seems no one has taught this brat good manners. We'll have to teach him, the dark-skinned athlete replied. The crook will teach manners, Huiso sarcastically said to those who don't know about his passions. Director Yang asked the guy not to be so cheeky and not to criticize his opponent, nothing like that. Let him let his hair down, the impudent guy asked. Because seeing the old man's face, he would die laughing. A bottle of water flew past. Water splashed everywhere, and Huiso looked askance at the enraged old man. I'll rip your filthy tongue out right here, the old dog growled. He himself is almost bald, but he barks like a young man. The impudent guy covered his ear. Repeat, you bastard. While he was still walking under the table, he was already turning people into invalids, shouted Pereiro. Huiseo made a statement to everyone regarding his opponent. He always fought like a beginner, but no one lasted longer than the first round. The only thing that distinguishes the opponent is his passion for doping. Will the aging fighter be able to protect the remaining hair on his head from a young opponent? The daring guy concluded his speech. At this point, they ended the press conference. The director turned to him, the impudent athlete. He hadn't left yet. The cunning director was surprised. First, he wanted to make sure that he hadn't ruined anything. The impudent guy scratched the back of his head. If he was so worried he shouldn't have started, the cunning director caught him. The doping issue could hit the entire organization, Director Yang warned. I'll be more careful in the future, the guy said. But since Pereiro let it slip about the title shot, this match will be a sensation. He did it so that no one would go back on their promises, the director said. Don't worry, the impudent boy threw up his hands. He still won't let the director do it. That's how surprised he was. Because he will win the match. The impudent guy poked himself in the chest. How self-confident. There was only a little time left before the match. The cunning but satisfied director nudged him in the side. Of course, the cheeky guy nodded goodbye. See you later, the director waved to him. Does the boy understand how hard it is to be number one? Does not think for a second about defeat? Looked at the running boy, the director. Events are taking their course. The match looks like it will be very interesting. But the guy is also demonstrating serious willpower. Now that the stone has been thrown, all that remains is to watch until the end. The cunning director grinned. How far this thirst for victory would take him, he wondered. The scale showed 73.2, great. There's still plenty of time left, Song-hoon said contentedly. Let's continue to follow the diet. This time he had to lose a lot of weight, but the methods were simpler. They used salt baths, not the usual sauna, which deprives you of stamina. Hold on for another day, the bushy-browed trainer supported Huiso nodded calmly. He had long been accustomed to the loads. There was a sound of a fall in the hall, and the impudent guy turned around at the noise. Taeyong was lifting Jung Hwan. He simply slipped. The fighter justified himself, getting up with difficulty. The match is close. Be careful, his coach worried and handed him a bottle of water. Jung Hwan has a fight in a week in the league, the bushy-browed master clarified. Preparation takes a toll on the nerves, Hui so noted. He's already 26. He's supposed to debut soon, Hui. So remembered his friend's hesitation after the last fight. Let's hope he doesn't miss his chance, Song-hoon answered thoughtfully. This guy isn't one to give up easily, his daring friend said confidently. We'll try our best. The daring friend showed his fist to Chung Hwan. He responded in kind, immediately, so that there would be no doubt about his mood. After weighing in on the day of the match, they did a little warm-up. A daring fighter, he dodged all the blows clearly and without unnecessary movements. And he managed to counterattack with precise blows. He was in his best form. Huiso easily avoided a feint to the legs that turned into an uppercut. He responded to a direct lunge with his hand with lightning speed and a kick to the ribs. And then he immediately added a left straight, every movement cutting like a razor. After the hand, I worked the middle kick again, in a combination of low-high-low. Huiso stopped, raising his guard, indicating that the warm-up was over. How exhausting, he sighed wearily. Let's take a break. Good job, the coach told him. As always relaxed, would he ever see him tense again? Sung-hoon wondered. He looked at his phone to see the latest news headlines. Almost all of them were about Huiseo, and almost no one was talking about the title shot. No matter how well they prepared the guy, Pereira was still #1 in his weight class and very dangerous. The bushy-browed trainer worried.